No, not generally, unless I'm doing it in character for the the
Right,
enemies.
right, right. Yeah,
But generally speaking, I don't.
and
All right, I think we're all set up. Again, apologies for the delay. Sim, it would actually be your turn this week. I know
yep.
you
I'll do it
scribed
again.
last week. Okay.
I love it.
All right. All
I
right.
need to start adding a TLDR though, because these recaps are get up pretty late, and they're not actually good for catching people up on what happened. So.
Oh, I enjoy them thoroughly.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just gonna start adding a TLDR up top though too,
Yeah.
because it's useful. Updates are useful.
Yeah, and Anna Kate, you're on deck for next week.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, go ahead, Sim.
Right.
I'll try to eat some dinner finally while you're doing that.
Yeah. So last session kicked off with everyone returning to the camp with Akami and sort of getting ambushed by Bakor and Jazik right up front, who wanted to know everything immediately. They were super excited to find out we were a tribe. It's nice. And we gave them a brief rundown of what we talked about with Cao Meng before Akami was like, you should go and rest first, and we should do this more seriously later. Uh, but we didn't actually need much of a rest because we didn't actually have a serious fight that we were prepped up for. So we scattered to do our own things. Meijun sparred with the troops and got the measure of them as well-trained troops, but nothing more than soldiers in the end. Jazik showed up and Meijun challenged him, and that fight went interestingly. They traded some tidbits about their moderately shared heritage up from the region of Tazwan or wherever, and not super close, but they were both sort of aware, and they came out respecting each other a little more, I think. And Jazik continued to reveal himself as single-mindedly very much just caring about preserving Bakor's life against any oncoming threats, which, is reasonable for a bodyguard type. Reed had a brief powwow with Lady Softspire, asking her about what the situation was between Asmira and Softspire and how authority went. And Lady Arella towed the party line, saying she was very happy to cede overall command of the Imperial forces to Bakor, because that is what the Council wanted. How much that's actually true, we don't really know, but that's what she says. I went and healed a bunch of common soldiers, which Lou says netted us a resource that we can expend in some fashion of some sort of favorable impression from the rank and file. We got a bunch of those this session, actually, because there was a lot of socializing. After that, we gathered ourselves up and went back to talk to the leadership. Bakor, Asmira, Malistray, and Lady Softspire were all in one place, and we gave them all a huge rundown. The first thing to report was that we had negotiated a brief truce with the vampires, and that they'd promised not to attack Imperial troops for at least a few days while we got some kind of negotiations underway. And Bakor was pretty hesitant to trust that at all, and seemed to still very much be on an aggressive posture with respect to all the undead around. But he was convinced that negotiating first wouldn't hurt anything. And then we had to introduce him to all the other factions that would have to be involved in any serious negotiations. We described Dynera, Elodie the Necromancer, the Warforged we'd run into, and I think those were the three big ones who would have to be included. And sort of why they can't just be shoved to the side or ignored in the city. And Bakor seemed interested to learn about all these factions, but not particularly gung-ho about diplomacy. But Lady Softspire and Malistray and Akami seemed to be able to somewhat convince him that it's still a good idea to try a big summit where all the major players could sit down and talk. And agreed to a time and a place. I think it's 7 days from now, the 70th day of autumn, at the Queen Dinara's court, because she can't move. He really didn't like the idea of the Imperial leadership going out of the encampment, but we said we would be there too and would, protect them as we could. Other than that, shortly after... Oh, and after that, Bakor raised the question of payment, saying that he didn't want us doing all this without offering us some sort of reward. And that got hairier because it's, again, tricky to get payment when we are as powerful as we are and with such varied interests. In the end, we settled on just reaffirming the arrangement we'd had to get their magical help with getting us into the Shadowfell, also broadening that to potentially getting Akami and Malistre's help in figuring out how to mess with Kalmeng's vampire curse, and getting Jazik to accompany us if we make it into the Shadowfell to help us with any rescue operations, which will be useful if we ever get there. Bakor explicitly made the offer of granting us some sort of magic item from the Azmira family vaults, and we put that off to a maybe later. There will be stuff that you can pay us for after the summit anyway. Mostly because this would have made negotiations maybe trickier if we were actively employed by the Azmira. After that, there was Bakor left to do leadery things, and everyone else hung out and did some socializing. I think Reed made a really solid, positive impression on Lady Arella, Malistre, and Akami, which may be useful later. Sim also got in good with Akami, and Meijun mostly just got really drunk.
Super drunk.
Later that night, Meijun wanted to sneak off in the middle of the night alone to talk to Kalmeng, which we all thought was a terrible idea, but he seemed to have his heart set on it. And Malistre gave him some invisibility to help with that. Malistre also sought us out sort of separately and privately to suggest that if we really wanted diplomacy to succeed in the city, Softspire should sort of be taking point in representing the Imperial interests rather than Bakor, who would be all warfare-y. And also suggested that there was a way to do this without getting directly involved in Imperial politics, not that we aren't already, by making Lady Softspire the focus of the other factions at the summit, because if they more want to deal with her than Bakor, Malistre was pretty sure Bakor would just go with the flow on that and let her take lead in diplomacy. Or at least be willing to accept that outcome. So there's that. Then we turned in for the night, and the next morning we were planning to start our tour of the city to invite the various factions to the summit we have set up. When there was a commotion at the gate, it was returning soldiers who had been attacked when they went to the cathedral, and who had been attacked by Warforged, so we hoofed it straight there, ran into a giant corpse golem thing on the way there, made short work of that, and got to the cathedral, which has already been occupied by several dozen, 30, 40, 50 Warforged things that we could see on the surface. The outer defenses were just 3 archers, and they hailed us, and after a brief discussion decided that we could go in if we were sufficiently unthreatening. And inside we found, I think it was like 30-some working Warforged to maybe 10 or so more soldiery types. And they were already at work building forges, furnaces, big workspace, just converting the cathedral into some sort of Warforged territory. And we were led down to meet Demi Prime herself, who is some sort of huge hulking war beast or war machine, who speaks with a young-ish woman's voice. I don't know. And she described what had happened, from her perspective at least, which was that they'd been freed from the vault they were trapped in when Malak was destroyed, and for which they were duly grateful to us. But mostly she just wants to get right started on establishing a Warforged nation right here. And she has no interest in diplomacy with fleshlings, who she doesn't trust, except for us, because she likes us. And that she's not interested in warfare, but she's also not going to back down from holding a bunch of territory right here. And we were in the middle of that conversation, trying to make her see that this would not work and that she should get involved in talking about the future of Izek with the other factions, when session broke.
Yes. Thank you for that recap. What does the group want to do? You're standing down in this, I don't want to say basement, but like these underhalls that are underneath the cathedral, where the circular stairwell goes down into the vaults of Kultura, and there is a hollow point here as well. I think you've been in this area before, I want to say.
At least some of the tribe has been. We recognize the altar and stuff.
Well, the altar is
Oh, it is up top.
upstairs.
Sorry. Oh, down below.
Well, we came to Isaac initially via this hollow point, but we didn't have it activated for return travel when we first arrived, I don't think.
All right. Actually, let me see if I have a map for you.
Did we, during the negotiations with Demi Prime, did the tribe discuss anything about Shock and our other lost comrades? Is there anything that Demi's people... Like, I'm just curious if it came up during the
I don't think it came up.
No, this is the first time we're meeting anyone in any position of... Or this is the first time we're really talking to any of the Warforged.
Yep, gotcha.
I think the actual conversation was more along the tenor of, what are you doing here? Oh, you're the people who set us free? Okay, we'll talk to you.
I see.
And I think the sim, it just immediately launched into, oh, well, if this is what you're doing here, you really need to come to this summit. And they were like, no.
No.
So,
Oh my.
And so far, yeah, they've seemed hesitant, I'll say.
Yeah. They don't see the value in diplomacy with untrustworthy people. And I think the last argument I made was diplomacy doesn't actually require trust. In fact, if you don't trust people, that's sort of when you need diplomats.
Yeah. So this is basically what the area looks like. Hang on, I'll reveal it. So I'll just use the party token. And there's a bunch of Warforged down here, along with Demi Prime herself, as well as a couple of Iron Golems, who all, let's see, they would probably be...
Oh, Demi Prime is actually a huge creature. Wow.
Yes, she is very large. Or huge, like you said. So yeah, what does the group want to do?
I'm all for taking a short rest, if that's all right. I don't think we've had one yet.
Sounds good to me.
These are the bigger enemies, and there's also a lot of Warforged that I'm not representing right now.
It really shouldn't come to a fight here. Oh gosh, that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, I'm not liking the way he said enemies.
Possible enemies.
Possible friends.
They
Possible
explicitly
friends.
like us, so we're not going to have any problems. It's just a question of how hard we can
I'm
fight
leveling them up to match the level up that you guys just supposedly got.
here.
Nice.
Alright,
Yeah,
so...
I guess I'll ask her if there's some place that we can just relax for an hour and take a breather.
Yeah, she would say you are welcome to stay here for the time being. Just don't cause any trouble. So you can stay either down here or upstairs, or just wherever you want within the cathedral. We owe you for your help. We consider you friends.
Then, as friend, allow me to counsel you. There is summit happening. All other parties with interest and forces in Isaac will meet there and attempt to discuss future of city. Perhaps you do not trust any of these, but if they... It will be best chance you have to learn of their intentions and their plans. Otherwise, you wait for them to come to you with their plans, or whatever they have prepared.
Didn't you already tell her all this?
Yeah,
You just trying again?
yeah.
Sure, give me another persuasion check. Excuse me.
I don't know why it's doubling my rolls again. What have you to lose by attending?
She says, well, as I have already said, I do not trust these fleshlings, and I would be much happier just having them stay in their areas and my people will leave them be.
But that's no agreement as to which areas belong to which people. That at least must be decided.
She says, well, these halls have belonged to us for quite some time.
For literal time out of memory, but nobody here remembers. It would do well to make your presence known.
I shall consider it, but I promise nothing just yet.
I'll shrug and go hang out with the tribe.
Okay. So the Warforged would mostly leave you alone. An hour would pass quietly. So go ahead and take a short rest. Actually, give me one moment to consult my notes here. Is anyone doing anything during the short rest?
Not really.
Yeah, so you know.
Alright, so the short rest would finish. One of the Warforged would approach at the end of the short rest. He says, you are the tribe, yes?
We
Yes.
are.
He says, it is good to meet you. My name is Nimble, and I have been asked by Demi Prime to travel with you and observe the fleshlings and get a better idea as to what this new society values and is all about. If this is all right with you, of course.
Absolutely. What does Nimble look like?
So he stands at about 6'2", mostly made of metal. Basically the picture I showed you, where he has several pieces of clothing that resemble what a knight might wear, but he also looks fairly, construct-ish and like he is mostly made of wood and metal.
Oh, pretty much like the first one we saw in the tunnels down below. He's not like anything.
Yeah, so all these look fairly similar. None of the Warforged soldiers have very unique markings other than maybe a couple of dents here and there from some of the soldiers that have seen combat.
I cannot promise you will be safe, but I believe you will be welcome among us.
Says, well, I am here to observe and to report. There is never guaranteed safety, but that is the price of existence. So he will join you for now. What does the group want to do?
Well,
Yeah.
the Imperial forces will want to know what we have found here at the Cathedral, but they will keep if you... And we still have messages to deliver around the city.
Yep. We should split up. It's always a good idea to split up.
Do I still have my golem from the sewers?
It stayed in the sewers. It wouldn't follow us when we left.
Yeah,
If we go back, though, it'll...
couldn't leave that area.
It's waiting like a puppy dog for you to return.
I'm bringing it with us when we talk to Elodie.
That golem could be Nimble's future wife. You don't know. There could be a love
Maybe.
interest right there.
Gollum is much larger than Nimble.
Well, you know.
So, back to camp, or
Maybe he likes big girls.
Perhaps.
back to camp, or onward to deliver messages? Those seem to be our choices here.
I'm just going to go ahead and start going down these stairs and see what happens. Am I allowed to do that? Will the Warforged come after me?
So the golem is kind of keeping an eye on you, but it doesn't actually stop you. If you went down the stairs at the bottom, there would be a long hallway which leads to a vault door that's currently open, and 2 Warforged standing in front of it.
Okay. I will go and stand a few feet away from them and say, hey, am I allowed to go into this vault?
So if you approach them and ask that, one of them looks over at you and says, the tribe is considered friends to us, but no one is allowed in the vault without the permission of Demi Prime. Except other
Okay.
Warforged, of course.
All right. I will go back upstairs to the rest of the party then.
Alright, so Gamork comes back up and rejoins you all.
What did Gamork find?
Oh, there's a vault down there, and there's only 2 Warforged. So we could probably take them, but if we want them to stay our friends, we might not want to do that.
Did you just say this while standing next to like this like Demi Prime player and these huge sentinel
No.
golems, whatever they are?
Well, the
I
golem...
said it so they
There's a
couldn't
room.
hear me.
There's like 40 of them in here.
Yeah.
I love
It's
this.
like an awkward silence and someone coughs. Oh, you know what? I'll assume that you were speaking low when you said that.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I said it so only my party, the tribe, could hear it.
Right. Maybe the Iron Golem, but he doesn't look like he has ears, so he probably didn't hear.
Maybe Vault is where Warforged were sleeping before they said they woke up when tribe banished Malik. Yes, maybe Vault is where they were stored all these much time.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
It seems likely that if that is not where they emerged from, it is connected. Best not to invade their home.
Nimble says, if I may offer my opinion, the vault is indeed where my people come from. It is where we were sealed for at least 1,000 years, and we recently were able to come back up to the surface, which is where we met all of you.
Can you make more of you in there?
We have been producing more of us, but our resources are limited. We need to gain access to more things such as wood and iron to create more soldiers.
I know where to find those.
Well, if you were to let Demi Prime know, she would be very grateful.
Okay. Hey guys, let's go talk to Demi Prime and let her know we can find wood and iron. Maybe she'll change her mind about all the stuff that Sim was talking about.
Maybe not trust fleshlings, but maybe Demi Prime make trade agreements and join negotiations for this.
That seems
Yes.
smart.
Could be, yeah.
That's a really good idea, Mark. Seems like that's the one thing they might be interested in.
That's
Alright, so who's approaching Demi Prime? She's just kind of standing over here off to the side.
is she like
I
immobile when
nominate-
she's resting?
Sorry, what?
Is she like immobile in resting state? Is she just like
She hasn't been moving much. She's
Okay.
been talking, but she's been pretty inactive.
interesting? Okay.
Yeah.
Are like the other Warforged coming and going, like reporting to her, or like she's like overseeing things
no.
and they report to her?
No one's actually talking to each other, as far as you can
Oh.
tell. The Warforged are just carrying out various like responsibilities, and yeah, definitely not much talking.
There was definitely some impression that the guards out at the wall were able to communicate further in when we encountered them at first. Not
Yeah.
sure, but there was some implication based on how they spoke to us.
You
Seemed
did,
like they were capable of communicating or receiving orders at a distance.
yeah, and you did initially see her come up the stairs. So she came from the vault down below. Now she's just been kind of standing here for the time being. You would almost think that. Give me an insight check. Whoever wants to.
Ooh.
Alright, so if you got a 15 or over, you might think that the golem, or not the golems, the Warforged might have some kind of means of mental communication between each other.
Interesting.
Which is not a trait that's normal to most Warforged, but at least these Warforged, you've seen them speak very little out loud.
Well, I assume that other than having encountered Rayless, we don't know a lot about what is normal to most Warforged because they're pretty rare, right?
Yeah, probably not unless you have Arcana. So, yeah, what you gonna go speak to Demi? Is that the plan?
Yeah, should have tried this gambit again. I mean, she can't have
Alright,
failed.
I nominate anybody but me to talk to her.
But you have charisma. Gamork has more charisma than a few of us. I think Sim and Reed have some. I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Okay. Do you guys want me to take a shot at this?
We will make proposal. You can come if you wish.
Okay, yeah, I think that's wise.
Alright, so the group approaches Demi Prime, who would turn her large head towards you and say, "Hello again, friends."
I greet you. Nimble mentioned that your newly growing nation is in need of building materials. And I imagine you must have considered this, but in the world as it is right now, the fastest way to get raw materials is through trade. It does require some form of relation with fleshlings, as you say, but at price of perhaps being able to build your nation faster, it may be worth engaging.
I have scouts looking for possible areas around here where resources can be gathered from. Do you know of any such areas?
Personally, no. But again, if you have scouts exploring city, you will inevitably encounter other parties. So, unless you wish to your fledgling nation to be fighting a war immediately, I still think diplomacy is best effort, is best way for you to secure resources you will need.
She says, "I am considering your words. I have sent Nimble with you to get a better idea of what your societies value and what dangers the fleshlings might pose to us, and if we would be good as partners. So once I learn more about you, I will make a decision."
Well, I suppose we must be off for now then.
She
We have,
nods and says, "If you do know the location of a place to acquire resources, I would be most grateful and would be willing to trade with your group for that information."
What about Lady Softspire? Doesn't she? What is her-
So yeah, she does actually have a bunch of different mines near her, near the city that her family controls that were discovered, which kind of helped them build their riches. So she could probably provide iron to these Warforged.
Okay. We'll have to make sure she learns about this then.
Yeah.
All right. When is this council of yours going to meet?
It is to happen on the 70th day of autumn, 6 days from now, at the court of the Queen of Sword Race, Dainara. It is located in some areas below the keep.
Sword wraith, as in undead creatures.
Yes, but more awake, more aware than most such ghosts or spirits.
Same personalities as when alive, but dead bodies.
We
Not
have,
not mindless like other undead.
We have seen the sword wraiths around town. They seem to have been they seem to be avoiding us for the most part, which makes things easier. It is interesting that these undead are mindful enough not to attack.
Dainara keep mind because Chiron helped. Chiron, great wizard. Chiron also still self in mind, even though undead in body after Ithic ritual.
I see. Much has become and changed with this land since we had eyes and ears above the surface. I'm curious to know more about them, and hopefully Nimble can bring me that information. But
We will certainly be going to speak to them.
6 days will be plenty of time for me to observe and make my decision, and then the Warforged of Kultora will decide who their allies are in the days to come.
That is well. I hope to see you in 6 days' time, or perhaps sooner. But we have urgent errands to attend to at this time.
Alright. As stated, any information on wood or iron would be of great use to us, and we would be willing to reward. Alright, so what's the group gonna do? Are you leaving?
We want to deliver the messages to the other parties, right?
Yeah.
So we're heading for the keep.
Alright, so you head upstairs.
I wasn't making that decision for the group, but that was kind of a question. Because I missed last session, so let me know if I.
No, we should. That seems reasonable.
Okay, that's what it sounded like we were looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright. One moment, roll 20's being a little weird.
Yeah, we're both using cellular hotspots because the hotel Wi-Fi is so bad.
Alright, wait. Did it not change?
Nope.
Mine did not, no.
Nope.
I'm actually using the Roll20 mobile app to do my rolls and stuff, and it's a lot more easy for me than switching back and forth between browser windows or other things like that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that they had one until Steve discovered it a few days ago, and I guess it came out in November or December. It's not a visual tabletop, but you can see your character sheet and roll.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So hopefully we'll keep seeing improvements if it just came out.
Yeah, that seems handy.
Interesting. So I tried changing maps. Did it not change for everyone?
Yeah, we're still hanging out in the
Yeah, we still see
entrance.
Demi. Demi's beautiful mug.
Try reloading, because I think something's glitched. You might have to unfortunately change all your tokens back.
Yeah. Yep. The portrait definitely reset. I guess that happens every time I reload.
Yeah. It's not ideal, but does it change after you reload?
It's still loading for me.
Still loading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the overworld map now. Yeah.
All right, good. All right,
Yeah.
so you're gonna head east towards the keep, right?
I think that's the easiest point of access to get to Dainara and Elodie, right?
Elodie.
Yeah.
All entrances there are near, so we can one fell swoop it.
Are you trying to be sneaky, or are you just moving through the city?
Rather save time than be sneaky right now.
Didn't
Right.
we encounter some stability issues on this bridge in the past? We might want to be cautious, at least on crossing the bridge.
It's
Do
a
I
little,
remember?
it's a little cracked, but it's not too bad. You can get across it
Okay.
without much
Cool.
issue. Give me a d20 roll though. Okay.
I don't know whether high or low is good for these.
So it depends on what I roll. When you get across the bridge, you would see to the south a bit.
Is that where we fought the thingy, the construct?
Yes,
It is near that, yeah.
Ish, but you see a group of the vampire people who notice you, but don't really react. They're just hanging out there. What do you want to do?
I will wave and say, "I greet you."
They do not react to you.
That's fine. Most people don't.
Is the spacing accurate on this map?
Yes,
Okay, just curious.
about 300 feet from you.
Can they see over 300 feet away?
Right.
It's yeah. It's foggy, but I mean that basically represents your vision on the map right now. So you imagine if you can see them through the fog, they can kind of see you as well.
All right, Sim, I think they don't like you because they didn't wave back.
One cannot be liked by everybody. I will not listen.
All right, moving on.
So do you want to do anything about them or just continue?
Let's ask Meijun. Do you think we need to stop to talk to them?
Does it look like they are waiting? Well, I guess you couldn't tell. Are they moving or have they stopped moving?
When you saw them, they were just standing there. So you would guess. You would guess they're either waiting for something or, yeah, it's hard to say. There are 4 of them.
Okay. I'll say to Sim then. Perhaps it would be worth saying hello more closely, or at least one of us, just to see if they need anything or if they're just sort of relaxing, I guess. Perhaps I'll just have a quick word and see if they need anything. Better to be civil than to be ignorant.
Let's go. Let's kind of follow Meijun, so we're staying within 80 or 100 feet of him or something, so he's not way off away from us.
Yeah, we can let him take point.
Yeah.
Alright, so you approach them as they see you, Meijun. One of them salutes. He says, "Greetings, Meijun. It is good to see you here." Cao Meng
Greetings.
sends his regards.
Excellent. Last we spoke, he had indicated that he would be making an appearance at the coming summit. Is that still correct?
It is, as agreed upon, and we are also under a treaty not to attack the humans for the time being. Do you have any messages you wish us to deliver to him?
None at the moment, I don't believe.
Did we? I'm sorry. I guess this is out of character. Do the vampires know about the summit, or are we including them in it?
Yeah, they know about the summit. I told them.
All right, cool.
Yep. I'll say no, I don't think that I have any messages for you. I hope that the delay in researching your condition does not burden you overmuch.
He says, do you have any information on research or how research is going to take place on said condition?
You have some ideas, but nothing concrete yet.
Well, it would be good if you have any ideas that are more concrete for you to let us know so we could tell him.
Absolutely.
They'd kind of nod. So do you, I guess, yeah, what do you want to do at this point?
I'll probably just, I'll give them a sula as well, like in the wuxia style, and I'll turn and head back to the group, and just basically reaffirm that the vampires do intend to make an appearance at the summit, and that they have agreed to remain peaceful.
Yes. That adds a stop to the people we want to see under the keep. There is Elodie, there is was maybe not properly under keep, but nearby. There is the Queen Dainara, who should surely know that we are inviting people to her court. And we should also stop to see Chiron to see if he can be convinced to give access to his library to others, which would provide us more options.
Indeed.
Onward.
They should have a say in Summit. Isaac was Dinara's family's home.
Lady Softfire recognized her name. She is perhaps student of history, so there can perhaps be a bridge built a bit there.
Just as Warforged say Isaac was theirs long ago, which is true, but Warforged and dwarves were missing many years, and Isaac became home to humans, and then became home to undead, and so many people call Isaac home and have claim.
Lame. Yes. Elodie first, I think.
Okay.
Perhaps his easiest conversation to have. She awaits us.
So entering the keep, you said you're going to go down into the sewers to find Elodie.
Have we gone in the front door before? I can't remember.
You
came out the front door.
You have, yeah. It leads into the courtyard where you fought the dragon, which is completely empty now at this point. You've gone through here a few times, and it's just a ruined area. But actually, as you go through this time, you would enter the courtyard. I'm not going to bring up the map because I don't think I need to. But when you enter the courtyard, you see a couple of what look like human soldiers there speaking to each other. They would notice you as you enter, keeping an eye on you, a cautious eye, but giving you nods of, non-hostility as they keep their weapons away.
Would
What sort of
recognize them
banners
by
do they
their
wear?
armor?
Yeah.
They look like Asmira people. They have the crest of the Asmira forces.
There's just like a couple.
Yeah, there are three of them. Lightly armed with leather, most likely scouts of some kind. They have bows and they have short swords on their belts as well as some daggers and backpacks.
Okay.
Alright, so you move on past them, I assume, unless someone wants to say anything to them.
I want to ask them when they're headed back to camp, or when they're intending to report.
He looks over at you and he says, "We are currently just taking stock of the area. Most likely we'll be back in camp around nightfall."
Well, you're not likely to be back before us, but in case you are, please tell superior officers that the tribe has spoken to the Warforged, who have claimed Cathedral as their own, and we travel with one in our company now, who,
Nimble gives them a polite wave.
who is friendly to tribe and investigating possibilities for diplomacy or alliance.
He says, "The Warforged, the ones that attacked us."
The Warforged have standing claim to territory. They felt they were being attacked, so they defended.
Invaded.
But yes,
Yeah.
Give me a persuasion check. He nods and says, "We should probably let our commander know then." He taps one of his people and he says, "Report this to the commander right away." And the guy looks like he's like the junior member of the squad. He sort of nods and quickly makes his way out of the gate, very cautiously and quietly moving through the city away from you.
if all goes according to plan, tribe will likely return to camp soon, but best to give word of such things.
He says, "Well, thank you for making that meeting for us and sorting that out."
It's far from sorted yet, but we will see. But now we have more errands to run.
Because of course, good day to you. And they just kind of go back to speaking. Looks like one of them might be drawing up a map of the area. So you go downstairs through the gate, and they kind of watch you leave, down into the bone area where you fought the large bone monstrosities, and into the sewer, making your way.
Barrett has idea. Tribe has friend Nimble visiting, following Tribe to learn about the other factions. Maybe more friends from different factions should travel around Isaac with Tribe and get to know all Tribe friends.
Perhaps it may not be a bad idea to have
a whole little party of ambassadors.
Yeah, more or less.
Nimble
I don't think that
says,
any of
I'm happy traveling with whoever. This is very fascinating to learn more about your culture.
We will see. I do not know what Representative Elodie could send. I do not know how much she can see or hear through ghouls, but and it might make us less welcome in place. But it is worth considering.
I'll smile at myself and chuckle.
Beryl thought of this when Tribe met three Asmara scouts in heap above, maybe in the yard above, that maybe Tribe could invite them to join us if they wanted. But it's just Beryl thought. Maybe for
friends or
future
no, I prefer not to
planning.
travel with soldiers.
Alright, so you make your way through the sewers, getting back to the area where Elodie is. I guess at this point you can probably drag yourself onto the map within her room, because I could just say you walk down there. She would see you enter, maybe jump a little, and then relax when she saw it was you all. It's over here, by the way, in case you
okay. I
know
totally
where it
put it
was.
in the wrong place.
She says,
Coolies.
my allies return. Welcome, tribe.
As promised, well before 3 days have passed, I bring word. At least the Imperial forces have agreed to negotiate with anyone who wishes to conduct diplomacy about city, and they are meeting in 6 days' time at the court of Queen Dainara.
I see. Is a lowly necromancer such as myself invited?
Indeed you are. We have secured position for you because of your unique position in perhaps contending with Alhun or revenants or other undead threats in the area.
This is well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you leaving me that golem to help me defend the area. Were you able to secure me passage to the cathedral?
That not so much. As it turns out, our friend here is a member of a long-buried race of Warforged. They have claim to cathedral and do not wish any trespassers.
Oh, a Warforged.
It will complicate negotiations, to be sure. And part of Nimble's presence here is to determine how much this nation wishes to conduct diplomacy with us. But I am hopeful still.
Nimble would smile as best he could and say, greetings to the master of undead flesh. I am Nimble, a member of the Warforged of Kultura. It is good to make your acquaintance. And she nods and says, I don't think I've ever met a Warforged. May I examine you? And he looks, he kind of smiles politely and says, yes, of course. And he walks over and she takes a closer look at him. She says, very fine craftsmanship, I must say. You are an impressive specimen. He says, well, thank you. She says, it's like a ghoul made of metal and wood. Interesting. He isn't really sure how to respond to that, but he just nods politely. And she says, Nimble, do you think I could be allowed access to your cathedral? And he says, oh, well, such things are not my decision to make. It would have to be it would have to be Demi Prime to make such a decision. And she says, do you think she could be convinced? And Nimble says, possibly. She has taken a liking to these fleshlings. Excuse me, friends, is fleshlings an okay term for you?
It is the one Demi Prime uses. I take no offense to it.
Well,
Daryl prefers scaly kind.
It is
Scaly-
not nearly the most offensive thing that I've ever been called.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure, as I've read books about titles being particularly important to many of the fleshlings, so I want to make sure I'm using the titles correctly. But anyway, if the fleshlings here, the tribe, were able to convince Demi Prime, perhaps she would allow you to have access to the altar. And Elodie says, is that so? And she kind of looks to the group.
Perhaps we earned friendship by means of freeing her entire nation from thousands of years of imprisonment. I do not know how much less than that suffices to establish friendship, but perhaps.
As well, it sounds like she owes you a favor. Perhaps you could use your influence to help me out.
Can I? So this whole, she seems very excited about this, and I can guess why, probably. But can I try to get a bead on what has her so interested in trying to get into the cathedral?
I mean, she's
We
already
already
told us
know.
she wants to use the altar to control more of the
Right.
ghouls, and is it?
Okay, I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
if she had said that out loud.
And I feel like there's 3 altars, right? And
There's
have
2
we
altars.
located all 3? Oh, there's 2. Okay,
There's
gotcha.
2 that
So
you
we did-
know of. There's one in
Right.
the... And I don't think you told her about the one in the basement yet, under the keep.
Didn't she use that to acquire the control she currently has?
We have evidence that she was the one who performed the ritual there.
Oh,
We didn't
okay.
ever
Okay,
ask
Well-
I
her about
apologize.
it.
I was thinking that we knew there were 3 and we were still trying to find the third, but perhaps I'm
We
She
have
mixing up
never...
my stories.
She never mentioned the one under the Issa keep, so you could assume she knows about it.
Okay.
She's only asking about the one in the cathedral.
Yeah, we have strong circumstantial evidence that she used
Which I
that
think
one.
we told her about the one in the cathedral, I believe.
Yes, I believe so.
So,
Yeah.
She says, well, I will be happy to attend the meeting. I don't know how much these politicians and soldiers will respect me. I'm almost worried about the fact that I'm a necromancer, that they might try something. But if you can guarantee my safety, I trust you. You all seem like honest people.
LOD is not strangest faction involved in this meeting.
Oh, I
it is
imagine not.
certainly my intention for at least this first meeting to go peacefully. If everyone does not leave as friends, well, it is a shame. But certainly I do not intend for anybody to come to harm at this. Diplomacy should be conducted without bloodshed.
It is worth noting, perhaps, that there is an individual among the human factions, goes by the name Malistray, and is associated with the guild. So, in conversations with them in particular, perhaps employ an extra measure of caution, or whatever it is that you would employ. They seem like the sort who specifically don't take kindly to non-sanctioned practitioners, but I'm sure that you already know about that.
Does anyone have a passive insight of 13 or over?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Like, I think half the group or more.
when you say Malistray's name, Elodie gets noticeably uncomfortable. Almost goes a little bit white. And she says, Malistray, you talking about the Crimson Dagger, Captain Malistray?
We did know that they were associated with the Crimson Dagger. Whether or not they were a captain, I don't think I knew, but
They seem to be
like
advisor to Asmira lady.
Lady Softspire. It is.
Or Softspire, yeah.
When our introductions were made, it was implied that the association was somewhat former, not as though he had left, but as though his primary affiliation was different now. But certainly seems like same person.
She says, I'm familiar with him. And she would kind of lift her shirt a little, showing a nasty scar on her lower, midsection. She says,
Oh.
I was hunted by him long ago. He almost killed me. but I managed to escape.
Well,
He
we
is
made mention.
tiefling, yes.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
She says,
Oh.
this could present complications if I am to come to this meeting.
Perhaps. He expressed willingness to negotiate even with unlicensed practitioner. Has seemed so far level-headed at least, and interested in diplomacy in Isaac.
She says he is vicious and ruthlessly efficient in his pursuit of orphan mages. Very calculating and cunning. At this
What
point,
be orphan mages?
orphan mages are what they call wizards and magic users who do not have a license or a patron.
Oh.
That's their nickname for them.
Is
So it might be best if I not attend this meeting.
I think that your attendance would do much to further your cause in Isaac. I understand your concern with Malistray specifically, and if I had a wound like that from a man like him, I would have reservations as well. I can't speak for the rest of the group necessarily, but what I can say is that until somebody draws, for lack of a better term, the first blow, I don't think that violence will be tolerated at the summit. So as long as that first blow isn't you, rest assured that if Malistray does something untoward, he will not get away with it. The summit is a time of peace, at least as much as we can guarantee it.
And we can guarantee much.
Nimble
It is our
would
intention to protect those.
Nimble would look curiously at Elodie, then back at Meiju, and say, the dent in the flesh crafter was produced by this Malistray.
presenting the
Yes.
perspective. Love it.
Indeed.
Is there some sort of, he looks to Elodie, is there some sort of criminality you performed that this person is hunting you? Or was hunting you? And she says she looks to him and says, the magic usage of this cycle is heavily, or at least of this empire, is heavily governed by this group known as the Crimson Dagger. And Nimble nods and says, interesting. An interesting tactic to keep the dangers of magic use in check. He just thinks to himself. What does the group want to do? She says, "I'll attend the meeting. Actually, give me a persuasion check."
Do I have the things?
And
You or Sim, because you and Sim have both been kind of talking. So yeah, she says, I suppose that if I want to be taken seriously, I'll need to attend. And if you say that he will be well behaved, I trust you.
At the very least, he has said so, and he has said so to us. So if he does not, then it is us that he will have to deal with.
That's what is true.
many people with many desires for outcome of this meeting, many groups. What law applies? Because if this meeting is establishing which of the human politics will rule here.
Yeah, I am
I
not
guess-
thinking so far ahead as to rule. Rule is to be
Sorry,
decided
sorry.
much later. For now,
Beryl doesn't well understand how human laws work. Beryl has little experience. Beryl just meant Isaac was once part of human empire, Teruvia, but has been wilderness unclaimed and shunned very long time. Does laws of this Crimson Dagger group still apply here in eyes of humans?
Probably. I would say that at this point you're correct in that nobody really holds sway here, and that's sort of what the summit is supposed to discuss, is who has claim to these lands. So I would assert that in the opening statements of the summit, it would behoove us to dictate that there are perhaps some ground rules, at least for the conversation itself. At the very least, in that nobody is to be harmed at the summit. And if anybody does not agree, they can, well, leave. And then, of course, during the course of the summit, I expect we will talk at length about who is supposed to be living where and why, and who has right to what, and ultimately who has authority here. But
Very good.
I think that,
Yeah.
at least for the summit itself, if anybody is unwilling to commit to an agreement of non-violence, then they have already chosen themselves to be an enemy of peace.
Yeah.
For now,
Beryl
I-
nods. Beryl says,
As- as-
"Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam."
We are a tribe. I have no ambitions to decide the course of future of Isik. I'm sure many people at Summit will have plans for such, and I, to be honest, have little care. Right now, nobody here in Isik particularly wants to slay tribe, so if we wanted to, we could just hope everything turned out for best and pursue our own interest.
Yes.
But if we do that, perhaps there will be war, and even though no one wants to kill us, it will be hard for us to travel city in middle of battle. So I just want there to be enough something so that we can rest assured that war will not break out here while we pursue what we need to pursue.
Beryl
Well-
just wants tribe friends to all be friends so that they can help tribe find Shock.
Ultimately, I suppose that my concern is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of lives hanging in the balance of this summit, and though I know virtually none of them, it weighs heavy on me that a conflict of this magnitude could break out if this goes poorly. Perhaps it is just because I myself have seen more war than I care for, but if this does turn to war because we didn't take our time and address it properly, that is a guilt that we will have to live with forever.
Of course. It is. I have been bending my efforts and borrowing reputation of tribe, which justly I have not properly earned, to prevent warfare, because open warfare is precisely the worst for almost everybody.
I agree.
Well,
But I have no ambition beyond preventing warfare. As to rule and habitation, let that scatter.
I can
That's
almost guarantee that no matter what happens, these Empire families will get what they want, unless the factions of Isik band together against them. Elodie says.
If
Perhaps
that
there
is
is a way
true,
for
that
everybody
will be
to-
made clear at the summit. I have some hope that perhaps they can get what they want without war.
But
She nods.
Iron and Dinara and Dinara's people, and those of undead who still have minds, still have original minds, were subjects of human empire Teruvia. Victims in terrible ritual much time ago, but were subjects of Teruvia too, and you should not be displaced or destroyed just because of great misfortune long ago.
I think it likely that any effort to destroy will result in war, and as I said, I wish to prevent war.
Elodie, remind us specifically what your stake in this is. What is it that you desire? Peace with your ghouls down here? Or do you seek expansion? I remember you saying something about wanting to create more ghouls.
As well, there are still many hundreds, if not thousands, of ghouls somewhere below Isik, being controlled by the Alhoon. I wish to disarm the Alhoon of these ghouls and gain control of them, making everyone's lives easier. Says there's also quite a bit of study that can be done if I am able to find a way to access the libraries under the keep, but I've found no way to get through the barriers down there.
Indeed.
Yeah, we haven't either.
Beryl wonders, tribe explored much of Isik and tribe here a very long time before humans come. But there's still some parts of Isik tribe did not explore, and possibly more factions tribe does not know about. Tribe encountered intelligent, sentient Bodaks willing to negotiate and compromise and agree to treaties.
Which have been missing. You're not sure what happened to Cordis and his people.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer in
Beryl
the
asked
place
a
they
couple
were.
times about that. Yeah, Beryl asked a couple times about that once we saw that the humans were in town, but I don't think we've gotten any clear answers on what happened to them. But in general, Beryl's just saying, like, there's some spots of Isik we haven't explored yet. There could be more examples like Dinara or Chiron or the unusual Bodaks who are different somehow than just normal mindless undead. There could be something else like the Warforged, where something that's awakened or something that's still sleeping, or like there is much in Isik still not known.
It is true, but we must do what we can with what we know.
Indeed. Well, Elodie, it seems that we have at least accomplished what we set out to do here today in securing your presence at the summit. So I hope to see you there and to see a peaceful resolution to all these interests.
I will just remind you that the Alhoons are still out there and they still have the ghouls. If you can get me access to that altar, it will make everyone's life safer if I can wrest control of the ghoul army from them.
It is one of the points that convinced the Imperial legions that it was worth speaking to a necromancer in the city. Everyone draws you to the Alhoon.
Since tribe has since meeting is still 6 days away, and tribe has friend Nimble, is maybe possible for tribe to ask Demi Prime if she will meet with Elodie sooner.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Perhaps it would behoove us to wrest the ghouls from the Alhoon before the summit. So that way they cannot basically...
The tribe first must
wage
inform
war on
other
the summit.
factions. Yeah.
Right.
We will speak to Dinara first, and
Alright.
ensure summit actually happens.
Yes.
Well, just let me know when the summit is happening. I'll just have to deal with Malistray. Hopefully, not deal with him. But let me know when and where it is, and I shall be there.
I assume we've told her when and where.
Was it definitely taking place in Dinara's chambers in 6 days? Is that what you came?
We got the Imperial legions to agree to that, so we're gonna float that to everyone we meet.
I think.
right.
Did you guys say that Dinara doesn't know this yet, though?
Yep.
We have not told Dinara yet.
Yeah.
Well, she explicitly gave us permission to try to arrange for
Well, hopefully
Yeah,
Imperial
yeah.
forces to negotiate
Reed
with
will
her.
be able to deliver it
Yeah.
suavely.
Yeah.
I think Reed can speak for her now.
Yeah, that's the
I was gonna
arrangement,
say-
and she explicitly said she preferred to negotiate on her in her court instead of sending someone. So
Yeah.
like
Cool,
that's
cool.
what we arranged.
It's worth noting
Yeah.
I think that Reed has advantage on all his charisma checks with Dinara.
Yeah. Elodie says, well, you'll have to show me where her court is at some point, as I don't think I've been there. But as I said, I'm perfectly
We have
happy
6
going.
days. So long as nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to ensure logistics like that. It is not far.
Alright. So are you headed back out? Or
Yeah.
where are you heading?
To
Dinara or Chiron next.
I think Chiron is closer, right?
Alright.
So you're heading to the library?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving Elodie here?
For now, yeah.
Alright.
I mean,
so
we could take one of the ghouls so that way we can have Barrel's ambassador team. I'm just kidding.
the ghoul, Nimble, grab one of the
I can RP
soldiers.
Vampire Thrall.
So go ahead and pull yourselves into the library, as you would get there without issue. That's over here, in case you don't know. You would see Lyra and Melody... Or wait, was Lyra here or did she... I think she was here. She was helping research.
Yeah, I think Lyra and Melody were left here.
They're both looking into the Shadowfell for sure.
You would see several piles of books and them kind of talking as you enter. They all greet you warmly, along with Chiron, who says, "Welcome back to the library, my friends. It's been a while."
Seems like we've made some progress here. I'll point to that pile of books.
Lyra sighs. She says, "Well, we certainly have been busy. Wait, who's this?" And she looks to Nimble excitedly.
Was he able to walk in, or do we have to ask Chiron for permission for him?
He actually was able to walk in. So whatever things were up did not seem to affect him. Nimble says, "Greetings, fleshlings, and undead one. It is good to meet you." And Lyra smiles and says, "It's good to meet you as well. I am Lyra, and this is Melody." And they both give him a polite bow. They say, "What brings you all back? How goes your explorations in the outside city? Melody told me about the Empire soldiers that have arrived. I believe the Softspire forces."
And now the Asmira. There is much happening in the city.
She says, "Well, it's probably going to get complicated now that the families are showing up. Luckily, I don't think they know about our little library here, so I'm hoping we can continue to work unbothered."
They are aware that this place exists, but not precisely where or who is here or what. That is one of the things we have to speak of. But before all that, I wish to know, has any progress been made in finding us a path to the Shadowfell?
Well, the magic required normally is extremely powerful. A secondary option could be finding a point within Isik where the barrier between the two worlds is weak, and using that to break through. Unfortunately, we don't know of any point like that just yet. We've been looking for more information, but so far have come up empty.
What about place where tribe friends were fighting when disappeared? Possibly recent connection between the worlds makes more likely new connection?
Or perhaps even where Malik died-ish.
Mm-hmm.
She says it's for sure possible. If the Shadowlord was defeated in an area, it may have left behind some residual necrotic energies, or weakened the barrier if he was forced back into the Shadowfell. Chiron nods. He says that could be a place to start looking, and he sort of looks to Melody and Lyra. He says, "Do you think you could show Lyra or Melody where this place is?"
I think
I
that can
thought
be arranged.
Lyra wasn't down there with us?
Not where you actually killed him.
Oh,
Right.
okay,
She
she was
knows
in
where
that room with the
portal
crystal
room.
thing, huh? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Lyra says, "There's no guarantee, but I could at least look around, see what the signatures of magic look like down there."
Mm-hmm.
Melody nods, and she says, "Well, it's something to look into."
That is worth doing. As it turns out, we seem to be accumulating research projects faster than progress in research. But we've learned that the vampires in the city are victims of a curse by Malik, not traditional vampires. And or curse, I don't know. Some magical transformation or enchantment, I do not know. But
like that creature Butcher, Chiron says.
Something like that. Yes.
and we hope to find some way to remove or modify whatever Malek did to them. But naturally, that is another difficult project. I think certainly I do not wish to delay our progress into finding way to Shadowfell for this, but it is something that many are concerned with.
Chiron says, he thinks for a moment, and he kind of waves one of his large claws, and several books would float over from the north. And he says, there are magics that can be used to fortify vampires, though I don't know of any that can cure them.
Tell me about these magics that can fortify a vampire. What do they do?
He says, well, vampires are very powerful, but have many weaknesses. There are ways you can nullify some of these weaknesses with certain enchantments to them. For example, running water, garlic, being staked, the sun. There are possible ways to not cure, but keep them safe from such weaknesses through magic.
And what of their bloodlust? That is not considered one of their weaknesses to be fortified against.
No, the blood needed by vampires is constant. It fuels their energies. If they stop getting blood for an extended period of time, it weakens them. There's nothing that can be done about that, as far as I know. Although I could research any of these things, it would take my time away from researching the Shadowfell gates, but we could also keep Lyra and Melody on the Shadowfell gates while I looked into this. I think it might be actually an easier project. Lyra and Melody sort of look to the group. Melody says, helping a vampire, I think we should just stick to looking for the gates.
It's complicated.
She kind of arches an eyebrow at you.
The leader of the vampires is a man that I have been friends with for a very long time. I actually came to Char and to Isik to find him as he was researching the history of our people here, and it was as a result of this research that he was inflicted with said vampirism, and this man has saved my life many times, and if I can do something to lessen his burden, I owe it to him. I owe him much more than that, in fact.
Melody sighs. She says, I'm sorry for your loss, Meijun, but very few come in contact with vampirism and are able to keep the essence of what they were. Your friend is most likely lost, or at least what he used to be.
I thought so.
She says, it's dangerous of you to entertain saving him. He could just be manipulating you.
Indeed, he could be. I thought that he would have been lost as well when I assumed that he was a vampire. But as far as I can tell, he seems to have his wits about him, and I like to think that after a decade traveling, I could see if he had been changed for the worse. It is of course possible that he has changed, and I either can't or don't want to see it, or that he has manipulated me in some way, as vampires are known to do. But until such time as I know this to be fact, I'd like to choose to believe the best in him. And if he proves himself to be a liar and a fiend, then I will kill him.
She says, well, the unfortunate thing is with vampires, often you don't know they're liars or fiends until it's too late. They are master manipulators. But I understand you wanting to help your friend. She says, what's the group think? Should we have Chiron look into these cures for vampire weaknesses, or just keep working on the gates with us?
I certainly do not think curing vampire weaknesses is the path we wish to take.
No, but curing vampirism as a curse, if it was possible.
Yes, normal vampirism has no cure, but if whatever Malik did does, then it would benefit us to know.
Indeed, and I think that is what Chiron is proposing. It seems as though the fortifications for vampirism are already known, but it is perhaps the mitigation of bloodlust that could be discovered with sufficient research, and I think Chiron has suggested that this could take much less time even than investigating how to get into the Shadowfell. I think if that bloodlust can be mitigated, then we will have done a great service, not only for Isaac, but for the vampires as well.
Well, it did not make me optimistic about removal of bloodlust. Hiron, can you please clarify?
I mean, I don't know anything about vampires, but does it have to be human blood? I mean, is there some way that they can use animal blood instead?
They can, but it's not as potent, and it takes a lot more to survive off of. Generally, Chiron says, vampires, if given the choice, will use human blood.
Well, sure, if given the choice. I mean, who wouldn't?
He shrugs and says, but as for what you were saying, Sim, yes, curing the bloodlust, as far as I know, is impossible. Reverting someone from a vampire back to their normal form, outside of a extremely potent magic, none that any of us would have access to, is impossible. But the fortifications of a vampire to protect them against certain destructive influences, like, as I said, sunlight or staking or any of the others, is possible with some time.
I have little desire to offer them more protections if they cannot be rendered more hospitable to living alongside humans.
At least wait till after summit to know if negotiations go well before tribe offer such immunity to vampires that may be not peaceful.
Chiron nods. He says, well, if that is the decision of the group, I will continue seeking information on the gates to the Shadowfell. Lyra, I think you should go with them down to the site where Malik was defeated and see what you can figure out.
And before we leave, there are researchers, certainly not without their loyalties, among the Imperial forces who have expressed desire to see this library and attempt to research things here. I did not feel I had right to answer on your behalf, but is it your desire for this place to be hidden from them?
Says, yes, I do not wish new forces to come in here and use my resources. I don't know these new or what do you call them? I don't know these Teruvians. While I had respect and admiration for people of the old empire, I do not know any of these people, and I don't know if I can trust them. I think my library should be kept a secret.
Very well. Do you have any desire to communicate or to know more of these new Imperials?
He says, no, not really.
Very well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry. I think this is partially out of character. I thought I had understood that the ritual, the disaster at Isaac, occurred 100 years ago, and that was still within the Teruvian Empire. Am I understanding now that there has been a change in, like, since Isaac's disaster?
I mean, Isaac
like
kind of.
Isaac
sort of mark the northeastern or northwestern border of the empire. There's still arguments to be made that Isaac is part of the empire, though a lot of the forces of Isaac would not consider themselves as such because of what happened.
So before the catastrophe at Isaac occurred, when Chiron was human and when Dinara's family was ruling here, they did not consider themselves part of Teruvia, or they did?
They did.
Okay.
Let's see, what was her family's name? They were the...
Yeah, you've told us, but I don't recall.
Yeah, I have it here. They were the Aveldi family. Ravina and Tywin were the ruling, basically the Duke and Duchess of Issyk.
City-state kind of
And
thing. Okay.
Dinara was their daughter. But yeah, they were part of the nobility. And as far as... well, does anyone have history?
Yeah, the Mark.
Mark, the history buff.
Sure, Gamork can make a history
Did you hear
check.
us, Steve? You're the history buff.
Gamork
Yeah.
might know something about the Aveldi. Not sure. No, never mind. Yeah, you probably wouldn't know with a 10. But as far as you know, the Aveldi family all died with the destruction of Issyk. So there was no one
As far
left
as you
afterwards.
know.
Yeah.
Very mysterious.
Well, it's always as far as you know. But Chiron says, I don't really have much use for these new Empire forces. While I'm willing to let them take control of the city, I'd like to keep my library and this area off limits to them all, even if there is some kind of peace meeting.
Have we already told anyone else about Chiron?
No.
I don't think so.
To be direct, very obliquely, I was cagey about it. I told them that we had access to some kind of library under the keep, and that there was a librarian there.
The next question. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, but just that it's not a place that we could invite the Imperials to go to. So
I see. Tribe has to maybe decide how to discuss this place, because if other factions come in to keep, eventually, they will see this door and try to access this space. And do we say nothing, or do we say that this is off limits? If we give no information and say they're not allowed here, then obviously there will be curiosity or raised suspicions. If Chiron does not,
to consider once we know who will have access to keep. That is likely
True.
something to be decided at Summit.
Okay, very good.
Chiron, are you able to ward the library in such a way that it is not possible to know that it is here? I know that you have wards against people entering, and I believe that the wards that you have prevented Malik from understanding this place for some time.
Well, it's easier to do against the undead and those that use the Shadowlord's energies. Against a human, I could use illusion magic, but I would guess that sooner or later they would discover this place. It might just be easier to come to an agreement that they would not access it. He says,
Tribe would
actually,
tell them of you?
I had a question for your group before I forget. How is the princess doing? Is she happy?
Dinara?
I'm gonna look at Reed.
Yes,
She
Princess
was for about-
Dinara.
She was for about 2 minutes.
Oh,
Wah, wah.
That's where I was going, but I didn't do it.
And then
Trace class here.
Mei June just jumped right in on it.
Have you know that my seduction was Lou saying, "Hey, who has the highest charisma in the group?" and it was like, "I do," and it's like, "Okay, you're sleeping with this lady." That was my seduction.
That is not.
Seductive I am.
That's not
Was
what
that
I
really how that
said.
happened? Oh my
No.
god.
Technically, she was
No.
like, I
I
want
asked-
a shadow crystal, or I want your life essence, or I want one of you to spend the night with me because I'm lonely.
Yeah, it was more like I asked
So
who
we
had the
kind
highest
of-
charisma, and then she started hitting on him.
Oh goodness. All right. Well,
But
I'm not trying to seduce NPCs, just not on the normal. That was not what I had, my strategy in putting my character together. Just so.
If you're not seducing NPCs, then you're seducing PCs, and which one is worse?
Yeah.
So how did you answer him when he asked that, or are you just kind of avoiding?
I'll give him my honest impression of what I thought of her outlook and demeanor. Like I don't really know.
He would nod, and he would say, "There actually is something that I wanted to speak with her about, as well as you, Nimble. Actually, Nimble seems kind of surprised. He says, "Me? What is it, large clawed one?" And he says, "Well, perhaps we could speak a bit in private later, but I had some ideas." And
Oh shit.
the Warforged sort of nods and says, "Certainly. I will come to you later and speak with you." And
We've
Chiron
already
says,
arranged the summit, guys. We brought these two together.
Well,
Chiron-
they want a private discussion. Chiron probably wants to design robot bodies for the sort of things we have it.
I would like to ask Chiron, like, of all the curses that we have Dinara's curse, we have these vampires' curse. All of them were brought about by Malik, who is still living but in the Shadowfell. If we were to venture to the Shadowfell and destroy Malik, so he's completely obliterated, would it lift these curses?
He says, "As far as I know, there's no way to destroy a Shadowlord. If you destroy the body it inhabits, the energy escapes usually, which is why the dwarfs imprisoned him. But even if there was a way to destroy one, the energies are in place. I don't think disrupting him would do anything to disrupt them. It's like once someone crafts something, destroying the crafter will not make the thing they crafted any different. They've already done it.
Just like the shadow crystals, when Tribe learned how the shadow crystals had been formed, Tribe did research in Alcavian labs. I think Lyra did research to determine if we could do something with the crystals to restore the souls that had been absorbed, and learned that it was not reversible, I believe.
He nods. He says the souls were used to create the energy. The souls are not there anymore. It's the same idea. The curses are already created. There's no involvement with Malik at this point other than knowing how to manipulate the energies he created. So,
but
unfortunately, no, I don't think that would help. Although destroying the Shadowlord would, of course, prevent future problems. So, if you have a way of doing it, by all means.
If Tribe did encounter either of the Shadow Lords, again, remember there are more than one, and found some way to contain them or control them, maybe the knowledge of what they had done would help Tribe. It's dangerous concept, but the knowledge of the Shadow Lords might be the most valuable thing for Tribe to know what to do with the horrible legacy they have left.
Even one such as I am reluctant to consider a plan that involves harvesting knowledge from ancient eternal evil for our own purposes.
Well, dwarves imprisoned, maybe Tribe can imprison too, and maybe bored prisoners talk.
Chiron says, well, I could certainly...
Meryl sounds very doubtful throughout this, but she's just... yeah.
I could certainly look into ways to imprison the Shadow Lord, but it would be another research project for me to do, and I think for now I should just concentrate on what I'm doing, which is saving
Indeed. Access to Shadowfell must come before consider any of these.
Yes. Well, if Tribe go to Shadowfell, find Shock, then find Shadow Lords, maybe Tribe more prepared, I don't know. Sarah doesn't know.
So, Lyra, would you consider going down there with them? And she says, yes, of course. Could you all bring me back to the area where you defeated the Shadow Lord?
Of course.
Yeah.
tribe
Nearby,
should
right?
maybe visit Dinara first, then maybe go to Deep Vault where Shadowlord battle happened.
Yes, whenever you have time, Lyra says. I'm in no hurry. If you wish to go and speak with Princess Dinara first, that's fine.
And to Dinara first. She should know
Alright.
that she is about to have guests.
Nimble will
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
here for the time being, unless
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
unless
can pick them
you.
up. No, we can pick them both up when we
Okay.
get done with Dinara.
Sure, sure.
He says, "I'm a little disappointed, as I wish to meet this Dinara, but it
Well,
seems
then come with-
Chiron wishes to speak with me in private."
Oh, gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. Well, you will meet Dinara at Summit at least.
Yes,
One hope.
one would
If
hope.
If it's okay with you all, I'd actually like to stay here and read into these books that Chiron has on vampirism. I know that it is a long shot, and I am admittedly not a scholar, but if there's anything in here that can help Cao Meng and relieve him of his condition, I would like to find it. Or, if not relieve him of his condition, help him with it. I think that I've done as much as I can in terms of politics. It's not my strong suit anyway. Yeah.
I'm rolling insight.
Mhm.
I just want to know if Mei Jun is. If he's being unusually dogged about trying to help Cao Meng here, I guess. If there's something more than just friendship or loyalty driving him.
So you might get the impression that he might not be mentioning his complete motives here.
Okay.
That he, I don't know if he's being you don't think he's lying or being dishonest, but maybe he has other intentions besides just research. Like maybe if he did find something, he might intend to use it. Does that sound fair, Mei Jun?
That's fair.
Yeah.
What does Sim do with this?
What indeed? Do you want to say anything?
Mei Jun, if
Barrel.
you say,
Okay.
then don't
Go.
leave before we come back. I would, and certainly, please do not take books from library. Since Chiron wishes to keep place secret, I do not want anything untoward to fall into Imperial hands.
Certainly. I have no intention of taking Chiron's books from his library. I have a profound respect for your books and for the sanctuary that you keep here, Chiron.
He says, "I appreciate that." Actually,
The people who are staying. Oh, I guess Nimble and Chiron are going to be in council together. Okay, so yeah, so it wouldn't make sense for Beryl to stay and talk with Chiron. So that's fine. Never mind.
okay. So no one else is staying here, right?
Yeah, I'll go to Dinara because we don't want too many party members missing in case they encounter anything along the way.
I want to accompany Reed to meet Dinara.
Oh man.
Is that the sort of meeting we're having?
One can only hope.
What is this, The Bachelor or something?
I sure hope not. Not
All right. So you all head over to meet Lady Dinara in the fountain tunnels.
So is she princess or queen or lady? 'Cause we keep
She
changing.
calls herself Queen of the Sword Wraiths, but
Because her people were killed.
Chiron refers to her as Princess.
Because that's what she
and-
was when he knew her and helped her.
Yes, and you all sort of use different terms, so.
She's Lady Dinara, Princess of Issac and Queen of the Sword Wraiths.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's
That's sort of how titles work.
It's
Yeah.
complicated.
I feel like there's a Game of Thrones joke in here somewhere.
So you would move through the tunnels. You can go ahead and pull yourselves into that area. Princess Dinara is happy to see the group as they return. She says, "Welcome back, friends."
Indeed.
Have you any news on the summit that is to take place here? Have the
I think.
Imperials agreed to it?
Can you pop up her portrait? There she goes. Never mind. You got it.
The Imperials, certainly. And also a necromancer. And the leader of the vampires.
And Warforged.
The Warforged have not yet agreed, but we are still hopeful.
Oh.
They hope to arrive in 6 days' time, the 70th day of autumn.
She says, "Warforged."
My companion has left us, yes.
Kumork is lost in the caverns. Hang on, I'll bring you in.
I was really trying.
So I think I can just, well, here.
Oh, you opened the door. I see it.
I'll just put you into the room. One moment. Kumork. There you go.
Remind me if her fountain is special.
As far as you know, it's not.
No.
You barrel jumping in the fountain.
No, she's just refilling her canteen, making herself at home because she's been welcoming to us every time we've been here, so she feels pretty comfortable here.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Dinara would say, "I am happy to host the Imperial families. It would be good to speak with them again. What is all of your takes on these families? Do you think that they're trustworthy? Do you think that they can be trusted to negotiate fairly? Or do you think I might be in danger, as I am an undead?" I have been, if I'm honest, I'm a bit worried that the forces of the capital have no interest in dealing with an undead such as myself, and it would be much easier to just try to banish or kill off my people and myself.
Beryl thinks that Dinara must remind humans that Dinara and Dinara's people were citizens of Turivia and unfortunate victims of nasty Shadowlords.
She says, "Well, the unfortunate thing with politics is that I'm sure they know that. It's just a question of do they care at this point, or would they rather just get rid of us as a problem?"
If you
How
ask
can...
noble
Go ahead,
trustworthy, there is... I would say the answer by default is always no. They are nobles. They will pursue their interest.
She nods. She says, "And that's why I ask. I myself come from a noble family, and I know how these things work."
Right now, there are 2 families represented in Isaac. Likely more to come. There is the Esmira, who seem fair-minded, and certainly intend to do good, but very martial in outlook. They wish to conquer, to fight.
Yeah.
She says, "I'm actually, I thought you said these were the Softspire."
The Softspire are the other family present. Esmira recently arrived.
I'm actually familiar with the Esmira, though I knew them 100 years ago. They were an up-and-coming family. You say they're militarily powerful these days?
Among the most powerful in Empire, it is said. And as such stand to gain from extended conflict. But again, the man I spoke to, he seemed not precisely to desire war, but it is impossible not to be shaped by your own interests. So,
I'd like to say, Dinara, if you're worried about you being treated as an adversary because of your condition and your men's condition, then you could try to make common cause with Elodie, who would be a necromancer who commands many of Issik's undead. And if things were to go wrong, perhaps your confined forces could defend yourselves
Maybe consider.
Give me
you
a
know-
persuasion check. And actually, does anyone have an insight of 16 or over?
Passive?
Passive.
15.
I think Beryl has 17, right?
No, that's perception. My insight's
Oh,
only
fuck.
13. Yeah, sorry.
Give me insight checks. You might notice something. Okay. Well, so if you got a 16 or over, you would think that there's more to the Izmira than Dinara is letting on. You think something about hearing about them may have affected her a little bit more than she's saying. And as for your comment on the necromancer, she would say, I was actually thinking about that. And there are more forces at play within the city than just myself and the necromancer. You said there were other factions. If things went poorly with the Izmira, perhaps the factions could work together to defend themselves against invasion.
And perhaps I should...
Warforged too. Old claim to Isaac as well, just like Dinara.
She says,
Perhaps...
I have not spoken with the Warforged yet, but yes, this could be something we could set up.
Tribe just learned of them. They awakened when Tribe banished Malik.
I'd be interested to speak with them.
It is
Go
worth
ahead, Sim.
noting, if you must deal with Imperials, likely Lady Softspire and her house will deal more fairly with you than the Izmira. They have less to gain from open conflict, and when I mentioned your name, it seems the young lady is a student of history. She seemed to recognize your name and be surprised but also pleased, and seemed to recognize the legitimacy of your claim to city.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. She says my family was well known before we all died. My city, Issyk, was a big part of the trade between the Teruvian Empire and the forces of the Desert Empires and clans. We brought in a lot of materials and riches for the nobility and lots of wealth.
Well, he had been hesitant to speak on subject of negotiating with undead, but when your name came up, she expressed more optimism. So perhaps there is something for you to be gained for you there.
You think she'd be more of an ally than this Izmira?
Likely so. Although, again, the Empire has placed the Izmira in command, so he's delicate.
It's always complicated, she sighs.
When you said that,
Did Gamork jump in her bed?
what?
Did Gamork jump in her bed over there?
Oh my god!
Maybe.
He's like, man, this is comfortable.
He's testing the mattress. Is it nice and firm or is it soft? Like, what is she like? You know.
This really is The Bachelor now.
Is this lavender next to the bed?
There are a bunch of sweet-smelling flowers next to her bed, yes. You don't know if it's lavender.
Have we even introduced Gamork to her? Is he just wandering around her chamber and like testing her mattress? And we haven't even introduced him?
Yeah.
Or have we been here before?
I don't think he's been here before.
I've met her before.
Oh,
So she might kind of
Trying to make a good first impression.
She might kind of look curiously at Gamork, who's now laying on her bed, and say, it is very comfortable, is it not?
Yes, it is. It's a little cold though.
Sparkle them wings. Come on, put on your best show.
Give me a persuasion check at disadvantage.
At disadvantage?
Her boyfriend's in the room. What are you doing?
What are you
I don't know.
doing?
She's been alone a long time. She might be into.
She could use two
multiple-
boyfriends.
Oh, man. So, yeah, she might say, if you're tired, you might be able to use the bed later, but I think we should finish the conversation first.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
Of course, my lady.
Hey, Actually, now I've forgotten what I was going to ask. There was something I was going to ask out of character that wanted to clarify just before Gamork
Before
jumped into
Gamork
bed. Now
jumped
I've
into
forgotten.
bed.
Never mind. Yeah.
Well, we are at about, more than the halfway, but do you all want to take a 5-minute break for a stretch and bathroom?
Yeah, it'd be good for me.
Sure.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, that works for me.
All right, see you back in 5 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know what I was going to ask. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Talk to you soon.
All right. Alright, I'm back.
Welcome. I'm back.
Is everyone enjoying yourselves? I know it's a little talky.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm talking too much. I'm having fun, but
Everyone else is so quiet.
yeah.
Well, hopefully everyone's
My
enjoying
character
it.
has low charisma, so I'm not really doing much of the conversation. So
Well, I mean, you can still talk as long as other people are talking too. It's just bad when you're the only one talking.
it's also
My-
kind of like
Sorry, go
having missed last week. I'm kind of behind on
Catching
like,
up.
It was a good recap, but yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough, yeah.
So, Lou, when you had us roll insight and Beryl got us off 20, and you said that she felt like there was more to it than just that Dinara recognized the name Asmira. Can you give me anything more? Like, did she seem startled, hopeful, afraid? I don't know. Like, is there anything that I could like?
No, she actually did hide it pretty well, so there's not much more you could gain unless you actually ask her about it.
Okay.
It just seemed like something was up, like maybe either recognition of the name or like maybe there's something between her and them.
Right. Well, she said she knew the name, so I just wasn't sure if it was worth. Was there more that Beryl could be like?
Yeah, you feel like there's more than just her
Right.
recognition, like maybe she
Okay.
has some experience with them.
Gotcha. Okay, so then, yeah, I think Beryl might have asked that, but I know we kind of already moved on past that. So, like, I mean, she might have just been like, Dinara seems surprised. This name has feels for Dinara or something.
Fine to
Yeah.
revisit it. I don't think it's totally out of the flow of conversation.
Yeah, you can still try to ask her if you want.
Okay, then she will. She would say when the name was mentioned, whatever passed across Dinara's face, however briefly that Beryl noticed, Beryl would say, Dinara more than knows name, but Dinara has feels for this.
Give me a persuasion check.
Okay, this won't go well. Only 10. Okay.
So she seems a little bit uncomfortable as you press. She would pause for a moment and say, "What makes you think I'm hiding something?"
Beryl saw a cloud cross Dinara's face when Dinara heard name Asmira. Beryl just curious. She just shrugs her little green shoulders and acts like it's no big deal.
So
It was just a thought.
she she nods and looks like she kind of quickly just changes the subject as you let it go and says, "It's nothing important."
Okay. Also, I only just read Reed's comment. Oh God, I hope not.
Oh, that's gonna be nice. I don't
That
know.
happens. It would solve some of our problems and
It's gonna be
put us on
tense.
a war footing against the Empire. Which, like, I don't
Like,
know.
all right,
That could be
whoever's
fun.
left standing, they're in charge. Let's go save Shock. We're done here.
I'm sure it's fine. It'll be fine. So yeah, did you want to all rest here or wait for a while, or do you want to head out, talk more?
I think we want to go back to library and
Does
get
anyone want to
Lyra.
go swim in the fountain with Gamork?
Ask him more swimming.
Or at least standing in the fountain because he's huge.
Is this her this is basically her bathtub, right? This is where she bathes.
No, it's more for decoration. It's not really a
Or
bath.
she doesn't need to bathe, huh? She's
No,
like ethereal.
She's a ghost. She doesn't really have any way of bathing. She says, "I would be very interested in talking to some of the other factions before this summit. If you get the chance, could you ask some of them to come and speak with me? I think it's in the best interest of all of the factions of Isik to be prepared in case things go poorly."
Maybe Tribe show Lyra to place where Tribe met Malik and then bring Nimble to Dinara and then go from there.
We should bring Elodie too. She expressed
Yes.
interest and does not know where your chambers are. So We should
Oh,
bring
yes,
her
yes,
before the sun.
And I assume this necromancer doesn't have a way of trying to gain control of me or my people.
As far as I'm aware, she does not.
Cool.
Alright. Then yes, it should be fine to bring her here.
Because so far, Tribe only sees her control mindless ghouls, and only the ghouls has only been ones Elodie took from control of Alhun. Took from
We will be
another's
here in any
control.
case. If she
Yeah,
attempts
yeah.
treachery, it will not go well for her.
Well, if Beryl remember correctly, Dinara can make the chamber really dark and scary, and Tribe lost here if Dinara wants to. So,
She says, yes, I can manipulate this
surprises
place.
for any guests who behave poorly.
Alright. Well, yes, you're fine to bring the necromancer here then, and any of the other undead factions that you are friends with within the city. My soldiers will keep them from misbehaving. I'm probably the most concerned about the necromancer, just because they often have ways of controlling undead. But if you will be here as well, I think things should go fine.
Very well then.
All right.
By your leave.
So where is the group headed?
Back to the library to pick up tribe members, and then all sorts of places. Who knows?
Give me a D20 roll.
Alright. Those tunnels.
See if the Alhuns find us.
Tunnels aren't exactly safe, although they are much safer. No, the trip is without incident, and you would get back to the basement. So within the library, you enter, and you would see Mei June there, looking at some books, as well as Lyra, Melody, and Chiron.
And Nimble?
Here. Yes, and Nimble's there as well, sorry. They would welcome you back and say, Chiron would say, I hope your meeting with the princess was fruitful.
It's well, it could be hoped.
I had an interesting talk with Nimble here. I'm curious to meet more of his people. Nimble nods and says, Chiron is most wise for an undead fleshling, and seems very powerful. I think we could benefit each other's people quite a bit. Or he could benefit our people anyway, because Chiron doesn't really have people. What does everyone want to do? Lyra says, are we ready to go down below?
Yes, we should do this.
Yes, yes.
Alright, so she would take you into the secret room to the south, which I think all of you have been in already, right?
Nope.
Or some of you have been in it.
Can as we travel, Beryl has questions for Nimble.
Alright.
Nimble said Warforged were created by the dwarves?
He says, yes, we were created. You can just leave yourselves in here. I'm just going to delete you and move you. He says, we were created long ago to help them with forging and basically creating resources for their empires. We worked as slaves. I was not alive back then. In fact, I was only created more recently. So I just know the stories and the books I've read. But we worked for them tirelessly for a long time until Demi Prime decided she no longer wished to obey them. And then we closed ourselves into the vault and were able to seal them out.
And then Nimble's people went to sleep? Or what happened after...
No, we survived for a long time down within the vaults of Kultora, creating, researching, using the Hollow, and just interacting with other Warforged that we were able to get in contact with. Though around the time of the Cataclysm, most of our Hollow points and information archives were destroyed, so there's very little information left that wasn't consumed by the fires.
The dwarves that created your people were scattered or destroyed during the cataclysm. That is what happened to the dwarves that held Isaac at the time of not your creation, but your people's creation.
I would assume so. The cataclysm, from what I've read, is a pretty harsh destroyer of empires. I'm sure some of them escaped to the deep, where many of the races go, but they most likely changed into completely different empires and peoples that are no longer the same as the ones who created us.
Okay. And I would just Barrel's like just chatting with Nimble as we go along, so I don't want to impede the travel. Feel free to interrupt if there's any encounters or whatever. But she would kind of be, I don't know, like she's kind of like about like wanting to share something, but kind of trying to gather information first. So she's kind of asking little probing questions. So she'd be like, "So Warforged like the dwarves or not happy with dwarves?"
As a race, we have no specific problems with them, but the empire that we escaped from, we are for sure not friendly with. If any of them
If
still remain.
if Nimble or Nimble's comrades found dwarf in need, single dwarf in trouble, um, would help or no?
Would the Warforged help a dwarf?
Yes, Nimble's people or
He,
Nimble.
he says, I don't see why not. As I said, we do distinguish peoples from their empires, and we are, at least I myself, have no lasting hatred towards the dwarves. It's just, we suffered at their hands a bit in the past. So there's still a little bit of uncomfortable animosity there, though most of my people know the difference between the dwarves and, as I said, that empire.
Eventually, oops, during the eventually during the walk, Beryl would finally kind of confess, like, Beryl has dwarf soul in Beryl's pocket. Unfortunate dwarf soul victim of ritual similar to ritual that destroyed Isaac, human Isaac, not dwarven Isaac. This ritual contained not kill as many, but dwarf princess was, and she would pull out the ring that contains I've forgotten. It's been so long.
Drigda.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so she
So
would
the
be curious.
Warforged kind of looks curiously at the ring, and it says, "Is this a power of your people to trap the souls of other races in rings?"
Beryl doesn't know. Beryl Drigda say ring special, and Drigda, instead of die, because Drigda wear ring, Drigda's soul preserved. Drigda, Beryl thought maybe Nimble would know how to help Drigda. Beryl can talk with Drigda. Drigda not very chatty anymore, but when Beryl first find ring, Drigda chat lots. Maybe if
So
Nimble
you
hold
can assume the
too.
two of you may have been chatting offline a bit,
Okay.
just outside of the actual spotlight. You may have been talking to her like when you camp and such, because she would definitely be eager to chat. She has nothing else to do. So Nimble would look at the ring curiously and say, "I am no arcanist. I don't know much about magics or trapped souls or anything like that, but I suppose I can consult with Demi Prime or some of our lore masters in the vault and see if we can help her some way."
I'm an
Much
arcanist.
And,
So this can work.
the Warforged looks over at you and says, "Oh, do you know how to help this Drigda?"
Possibly. I mean, I am proficient in Arcana.
She will hold up the ring and let Gamork check it out.
and tell all about the ring. Like she just kind of blathers like all the story of Drigda as
I
the more
wasn't
visible.
intended.
Give me, I guess, an Arcana check. 12. There's probably not much you can do with the ring without having access to a library.
To give him any insight, like even just the 12 would at least like give, since he's trained in Arcana, would he
So
know?
he might be familiar with receptacles like this, but actually how to free the soul without just letting it go to its eternal rest, that he wouldn't know.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, I have questions for Chiron once we get back to the library. Then.
All right.
Yeah. So Beryl would tell Nimble, like, basically that Beryl wants to take Drigda back to her family, but thought maybe there could be other ways to help her. And she would explain that Drigda's much younger than the dwarves that founded Isik. Drigda's catastrophe was, what, 100 years ago? Ish as well? Just
the
after.
dwarves didn't found Isik, but you mean the Dwarven Empire that enslaved them?
Oh, I thought that like the cathedral and some of the structures
some of
there.
the structures here were built by the dwarves, but that was a different city. Isik was created by the Teruvian Empire.
Okay.
Over some of the structures that survived.
The land that later became Isik.
Yeah, I got
dwarves. Yeah, she was just explaining everything she knew about Drigda, basically.
All right.
Because, yeah.
So Lyra would say, do you think you can get us back to the vault from here? Where you defeated Malik?
Beryl remembers some of the path.
Alright. So, I'm not going to make you navigate the tunnels, but if no one has a map, you can use probably either survival, or if someone's a cartographer, you can use some of your tools to try to remember.
Beryl stands in the hallway just outside the crystal room and goes, "Garu, you here?"
It says what?
Avagaru, the mind flayer that guided us through this area.
Avocado. Yeah.
Avocado.
Last we saw him, he was just hanging out outside this room. So
you don't see. I got you, Reed. You don't see him in the immediate area, and you do remember that there are the sleepers here that could be a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
But last you were here, Lyra expanded the influence of the crystal a bit to safen a lot of the areas. So you think you should be able to make it back to the vault hallways without bumping into them, hopefully.
All right. Well, we were moving as a pretty large group, and I honestly don't remember who was guiding us when we went the first time, but I assume all of us could maybe...
It was
all of us that
Avagaru.
were there for that battle. It was Avagaru, okay.
Yeah.
so
But you
I guess
haven't
all of
seen
us that
him
were there
since
for that
you...
battle could remember bits of it, maybe, or try.
So yeah, give me a survival check. Up to 2, you could work together. Oh, well, apparently Beryl remembers exactly where
Beryl
to go.
just found one of her own footprints.
Yeah, she's like, oh wait, I remember this. So you are making your way through the hallways.
The boulder room right there, right?
Where? Sorry, give me one moment. I really wish there was an easier way to organize my maps. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. So as you approach the area where you remember fighting, what's his face?
Malik.
What's his
Malik.
face? Guy.
And Whisper and
you
Tripod.
you hear noises coming from down the hallway.
Only good things, I'm sure.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
Sneak.
Alright. You all gonna try to stealth up to the room, or do you want to send someone to scout? What do you want to do?
Sorry. May I go and scout? I'm a +9 profession at stealth.
Go for it.
Well, here's a point of clarification, as it seems it may soon become relevant. When you guys returned to the library, it was my intention to continue to do research, and I assumed that I had been, unless I was pressed to join you. Because I would assume that there was no inherent danger because we had already cleared things out. Obviously, that's not the case, but we wouldn't have known that at the time.
Obero would definitely have encouraged you to come with, because there were all kinds of creatures and ghouls and things that we didn't finish clearing down here. There's many side caves and passages and things.
Okay,
Yeah, the
I-
tunnels were probably still dangerous.
Okay, then I'll go with, and then try to go back and do more research later. That's fair.
Oh, it's just one big room.
Alright.
So
So, did you... Go ahead, sorry.
sorry,
I
I'm sorry.
I
should have been muted.
Oh, hang on, Gamork. Are you coming up here to look around, approaching the room quietly? And is anyone else going with you? Are you muted?
Not anymore. Yes, I do want to go look around, and if anybody wants to join me, they're free to do so, but it's up to them.
When Gamork starts sneaking forward, I will cast Pass Without Trace, and I follow behind him about 20 feet.
Alright, so if it's just the two of you, give me stealth checks for approaching the
And
room.
anyone who wants to follow me, stay within 30 feet of me, would benefit as well.
Okay.
Jesus, fucking 34 with pass.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Gotta love druids.
Yeah, Meijun is not fucking with that. He's
Alright.
jiggly.
So as you get close to the room, you see there are a bunch of Shatter Kai in there, and someone's standing near the vault door chanting.
Motherfuckers.
Okay, what are Shadow Kais?
They hate us, and they really, really want to kill Anna Kate, and they probably want to kill the rest of us just a little bit less.
Weird elfy things from the Shadowfell.
Yeah.
You see
All
there
right.
are 7 of them, along with, as I said, along with someone who is near the vault door and chanting. It looks like there is an owl on that one's shoulders.
Oh. So there's 8 total, and one of them is definitely a powerful magic user. And I don't think we've ever faced that many Shadow Kai together before.
As you approach, he kind of stops and turns his head a bit. You're
That's,
still pretty
okay.
far down the hallway, but you don't know if he heard you or what happened, but he almost seems like, for some reason, he might be aware of you.
Tripped an alarm warning.
Okay, I'm gonna hightail it back.
Oh, yeah, alarm. I was gonna say, wow, that's
Stealthily
wicked.
hightail it.
Alright, so the group, the two of you quickly move back to the party.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you get back to the party, and what do you do?
When Gamork turns around, Beryl just turns and starts running.
Stealthily running.
Yeah, I assume you stealth back.
So
That's
that
fine.
Pass Without Trace, yeah.
Beryl, would you like to tell them what we saw?
Beryl stayed, I think I said, did I say 10 to 20 feet back? What did I say, guys? How
20
far
feet
behind
back.
him was I?
You said you were 20 feet back.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I probably didn't see in the room if you were peering through a doorway.
Okay. So there are at least 7 Shendar Call or whatever down
Shadow
there.
Kai.
Shadow Kai.
Yeah, what she said. And one that has an owl on its shoulder, so 8 total, methinks. And one is chanting at the vault.
He's
And
chanting.
I don't think it was good chanting.
He's chanting right now.
Yes.
We gotta go.
Like, towards them or away from them?
Yes. Towards them. I
Whatever
vote.
they're doing, it should not continue. Let's go.
Yep. Let's go.
Okay. All right.
Are Lyra and Nimble with us?
Yes. Nimble says.
What about Melody?
No,
No.
Melody's not here.
She's
Nimble
in the
says,
library. Okay.
"Do you need my help in combat?"
Just so long as you're not gonna die, that wouldn't do well for our political
Yes.
relationships.
This as well.
Protect self, but
I-
help, please.
I can promise nothing, but I assure you it is not my intent to die.
These creatures don't like Anna Kate. Very mean to Anna Kate. Please help Anna Kate.
I don't remember why they don't like me.
You killed them, and they remembered,
Oh.
and they came back, and they targeted you like extra fiercely the next time we encountered them. That's all Beryl remembers.
I think that's
I
the
thought that
Revenants.
was Revenants.
Yeah, those are the
Oh,
Revenants,
yeah.
I
the
think.
Revenant.
Oh my bad. Never
Shadow
mind.
Kai.
Forget
Yeah.
what I said. Then. I apologize. My bad.
I mean,
Okay.
they probably don't like her anyway, but that's just because they're
Nope.
dicks.
I mean,
Nobody
So-
likes me.
Nobody likes you.
Thank you.
So as
Thanks,
the
Mark.
as the group
You
approaches,
just don't know any better yet.
Give me time.
as the group approaches the room, you don't hear the chanting anymore, but you see all the Shatter Kai looking directly at the doorway as you come running in,
Yeah,
as
that's
if
fair.
they were waiting for you. So
no
let me-
surprise round.
I can't see the map. Oh, there we go.
I'm bringing you on now. Hang on.
Yeah, once you're on, it's small. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So actually, the one in the back in the robes looks familiar to. Actually, I think some of you.
Yeah. Not me.
Not you.
Oh! Is it what's her face?
It might be what's her face. Oh, I just had his figure. Where'd he go? How did I
I was
just lose
thinking
him?
of. Let's see. What was I
Oh,
thinking
yeah,
of?
that's right. Sorry, I just had his sheet open. Oh, there he is.
Oh no.
You remember him from the church when
Yeah.
the group was being overwhelmed and he called a temporary truce. So he is standing there with his arms crossed looking over at the group, and he said, "I thought I felt some trespassers." And he smiles. "It's been a while, Reed, and the rest of you."
Reed and the rest of you.
What
gonna-
brings you back to the vault that you so hastily took from Lord Malik? Because I think the group did close the vault when they left, didn't they?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we used a bunch
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Unlocked,
tape
yeah.
stone
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you going to say? They were all just standing there watching you. The Shatter Kai, this is him over here by the vault, Arden. The rest of these guys look like shadow dancers, and they all have their weapons drawn, keeping a close eye on you.
Can
Can
you confirm
Beryl-
for me
Oh,
real
go
quick the attire of shadow dancers as we have a moment to observe them? I don't think I've ever actually seen them before. I would imagine that they're lightly armored.
They are wearing studded leather and using spiked chains as their weapon.
Oh, that's awful. Okay.
Beryl would tug on Reed's like robes and be like, Shadow Kai from Shadowfell, yes? Maybe they can help try to find Shock.
Really?
Beryl's just like, yeah, she doesn't know.
Your
Wait.
spirit of optimism is overwhelming.
Yeah. I thought we were having a throwdown.
We're about to have a
I don't know.
bro.
See,
that
you
was
see, like Malik standing here, and she's like, "Malik from Shadowfell, maybe help find Shock."
No, but I mean, our whole goal, like one of our major goals right now is finding Shock, and like we allied with what's her face? Let me find it. Who was it? Didn't we? What was her name?
It was the
Sorelia.
Sorelia, yeah.
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 Was also
Who we
missing.
Yes.
Yeah. Which she was fighting with Shock and went missing as well. So we assume they might still be together, but we don't know.
So the shadow dancers are holding their chains taut as they watch you, and Arden continues to wait for a response.
Why have you
just-
come back? That's what I want to ask. Why are you here? We've already been in this vault. What do you seek here?
Says we are servants of Malik, and we seek the prize that waits within the vault. We know that you bested him the first time, and we know that you probably took most of the artifacts out of the vault already, but we were hoping to be able to get in there ourselves and get some of them.
Yeah.
I was not
Should've
expecting to see you again. Sorry, what did you say?
I was gonna say we should have left you in that church to be overrun by a army of ghouls.
Says it's quite a mean thing to say.
Well, he has a point in as much as we kind of agreed that you would leave Isaac and wouldn't come back, and yet here you are.
Does this count
Red,
as...
get down. Sorry.
He says, does this count as part of Isaac? I thought we were below the city enough where this is a different area.
I will audibly roll my eyes.
Audibly rolling eyes.
I had my wand out ready, and now it's just this big my arms are
So he kind of looks at his troops, he looks at you. He says, a battle between us would be costly for both sides, and I don't feel I can get into this vault anyway. So perhaps we can just leave amenably, unless you wish a fight.
I want to ask, I'm honestly curious, why do you serve Malak?
He says, the Shadowlords have offered my people power and given us purpose throughout the ages. We serve him because it helps us to further our own goals in the control of necrotic energies within the Shadowfell. That is our main reason. He says, why do you fight against him?
Me, for one, he imprisoned me for hundreds of years.
He says, well, I don't know what his reasons were for that, but...
Thousands. And kill more if not stopped.
Says the Shadowlords tend to the Shadowlords tend to have many enemies. Their actions often put them at odds with many factions due to their magical nature and experimentation.
I would assert that it is most people have no issue with magical nature or experimentation, but they do take issue with murder and genocide. But if he serves you or your people in the way that you claim that he does, I can, at the very least, understand why you respect him the way that you do. If there was an entity that had that sort of sway over my people, I suppose I would respect him too. But there isn't.
We still have not answered the question of whether we need to fight here.
He says, are you familiar with Gaian and the Elvish peoples? And he,
Hold on, I'm taking notes.
he says, the elves were the original what's the word? The original race inhabitants of Gaian before the coming of the humans and dwarves, and the coming of those races herald the cataclysms which started the cycles of destruction. Even though Malik has caused a lot of death, there is also potential that he can figure out and stop the cycles, which could prevent much more of the deaths from happening. Well, would save many lives, he would say. That is why he seeks some of the powers that he does.
This is an argument that we've heard from Malik himself, if I'm not mistaken. And while I concede that on... What?
And from Guybok.
Did we?
Yeah, I think Guybok was traveling with our group for a bit because he was weakened and wasn't as much of a threat as Malik anymore.
He was
So I think
definitely
it was
traveling
Guybok.
with us, but I remember we were in this room when Malik was telling us why he was doing what he was doing.
Oh, did he? Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Malik had to with us as well. Or Guybok, yeah, go ahead.
What was I saying? I'll say this is I wouldn't call it a story, but this is as much as we've heard from Malik himself. And while I concede that it is, in theory, a noble goal to prevent the continuation of cataclysms, it is at best a guess that this is, first of all, even possible, and at worst, a function which requires the sacrifice of thousands of innocent people. There's the energy required to sustain Malik and his practices necessitates the deaths of innumerable people for a gamble that this is even possible.
He says, in our eyes, the gamble is worth it to be able to return to Gaian and not have to deal with the cataclysms and allowing our societies to grow once again and not be cut down every 1,000 years. The loss of so much knowledge and potential. He says, certainly many die to fuel his experiments, but those people face death regardless, and often their deaths do not bring about anything better. Just more people who live and die until a cataclysm comes upon us again.
Forgive my ignorance, but do the Shadarkai have families? Do you have children in the same way as elves or dwarves or humans or anybody else?
He says, yes, we have families. Not all of us, obviously, but we live similar to any of you.
And what would you say if I told you that it was your son's life or your daughter's life that was required to bring about this change?
He says it would be a sacrifice worth doing. He says very resoundingly.
And your entire
Resolutely?
people?
Resolutely,
Damn.
yeah.
Wow, that's fucking rough. Okay.
He says, we all have made sacrifices to try to bring about the vision of the Shadowlords. And I think it would provide a better world for those who survive if Malik is able to accomplish it. None of this is important, though. I don't think either of us is going to convince the other one of the righteousness of our causes. As I said, if you allow us to pass, we will leave this place peaceably. I think neither of us wants a fight, as it would be very costly for both sides.
I'm gonna look at everyone, and I'll say we'll take a vote, and I'll hold out my hand, and then I'll give a big thumbs down.
Yeah. As he does this, I'll ask, what's his name? Like Harkin or something?
Arden?
Arden. Yeah, I'll ask Arden. I'll say aloud, will your people... Is there any reason why your people would cease serving Malik?
He says, most likely not, but I could never say for certain. As long as we agree with his goals, we will most likely serve him. He says,
Yeah.
out of curiosity, why are you back down here if you had already looted the vault?
Just tying up loose ends.
Tying up loose ends.
AKA
And
you.
I'll hold my hand out. I'll do my thumb sideways, and then point it down.
You guys are just itching for battle, aren't you?
No, but they're well. I can't. God, it's too meta. It's too meta.
So is thumbs down we fight or don't fight?
Yeah, it's derived in real life from the Roman gladiatorial pits.
Gladiator, yeah.
Yeah. So
I
thumbs up
think that at
means
least
the
two of our party
loser
have
gets to
indicated
live.
they want us to fight
Yeah.
8 at archive.
Okay, I as much as I love a good scrap, I'm gonna do a thumbs up for
Okay.
no fighting.
Okay.
Beryl prefers to make
So-
friends.
The what's her face? Lyra would whisper, "Do we want to ask them about your friends? If they are from the Shadowfell, perhaps they know what happened to them."
Beryl said.
Yeah, that's what Beryl said, and we mocked her.
I mean,
All right. Well, apparently Lyra didn't hear that.
I was like,
Oh, I didn't hear it either. I'm sorry.
who? Yeah, I mean, well, I think Beryl was whispering it to somebody, and Lyra was whispering to somebody else. So I don't think many of us
Yeah,
actually
true.
heard it.
That is
So
true. Beryl
Lyra,
whispered.
all right, maybe Lyra wouldn't whisper. Lyra would kind of say to the group, perhaps we should ask them about our friends, or those who are nearby. So maybe like Reed, Mayjune, and Sim. She says if they are from the Shadowfell, they may know what happened to them.
Arden, I have a question for you, unrelated to.
You already showed him the thumbs down, huh?
I did.
All right.
I did. It's basically, I imagine I was holding thumbs down when I looked back at Lyra saying something. So it's my intentions are demonstrated, but as she suggests this, I'll like take my hand and I'll go I'll
It's
hold it.
perhaps best not to reveal our intentions to a servant of Malik.
Arden just looks at you and he says, ask if you wish to ask.
I'll turn to Sim and I'll say more quietly, "Are you suggesting that we do not ask?"
I know little enough. I just have concerns. But if you deem it wise, you know more of these than I do.
I'll turn back to Arden and I'll say, "Many companions of ours were, we think, drawn into the Shadowfell as a result of Malik's separation from the plane. Do you know anything about something like this?"
He says, the soldiers that you attacked Malik's forces with, is that what you speak of?
That is correct.
Says, oh yes, I know of them. They were pulled into the Shadowfell.
Very well. Is there a method by which we may extricate them from the Shadowfell?
He says, well, I had seen them. They had been taken prisoner by a different faction of Shatter Kai serving Malik. Malik is currently missing, but I believe your friends are being held at one of our outposts within the Shadowfell.
Can you get us there?
He says, you are not natives to the Shadowfell, so it would be more difficult to do. But there is a possibility. I would have to return to the Shadowfell and gather some ritual components to open a gate.
And what would you require in return for such a gesture?
He scratches his chin. He says, "Does anything still remain in the vault?"
If I recall correctly, there are some things, but I was myself not taken with the concessions of the vault, so I don't remember exactly what they were. But I do believe that there are things that remain in there.
As well, if you would let us see what remains and perhaps give us some of the resources, we would trade those for your friends. And of course, safe passage out of here.
A moment, if you would.
He nods and strokes his chin a bit. Several of the Shadow Kai also kind of move over towards him at this point.
So, can we trust that he's not leading us into a trap into
No.
the Shadowfell?
No, not at all.
Absolutely not.
Not even a little bit. No.
I can tell you exactly what's still in the vault. I put it in the inventory. Let me find it here. I believe it's going to be a couple pillars, a couple of the summoning pillars, and then. But let me find it here. All right.
Like the
It's
same
a quote.
ones that are in here.
So the mobile hollow point that we used. So it's been set up there in the vault, and then 2 mobile hollow points that we have not used, which we could transport elsewhere and set up a new hollow point.
I thought that was these out here.
No,
there
those
was-
are the enchanted pillars that he was
Oh,
Malik
that's
was
right.
channeling.
Those are like
So wait, did
Yeah.
you set one up in the vault?
We
Yeah,
set one up. It was either in
Oh.
the vault. I think. No,
'Cause
I
if you
thought
did
we
we
that-
set it up.
I thought we set it up.
in the vault, and we teleported from there out when we
Oh,
were
you
done
could
with.
have just teleported back into the vault then. That would have been a much easier
From
way of
where?
getting down there.
guess from
There's a hollow point in the under the cathedral. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we could have once we visited the Warforged.
So I think, if I
and then
recall
there's-
correctly, I don't actually think we set it up in the vault. I remember very specifically setting up more or less exactly in the middle of this ring.
Oh,
I don't think we wanted it
Oh.
to be in the vault because we. I
Oh,
don't think
is
we
that-
wanted
Is that this thing?
potentially?
maybe.
Yeah, I
Oh,
do not.
maybe you
think
set
that
one up
we,
here. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want it in the vault because we did not want anybody to be able to teleport into the vault in case they had
That's fair.
access to the
Gotcha.
network.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting.
All right.
Okay.
And then the other things we left a shadow crystal powering the hollow point that we set up, and we also fed. Okay, and then there's also the teleportation doorway. This is inside the vault. There's a
So-
teleportation doorway, not the same as a hollow point. That
That
has
goes
a
to the city or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the one where we put the basketball-sized shadow crystal in, but
And
that
it
didn't seem to be
ate
enough
it,
to power
and
it.
it
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it
it
started
might-
powering up. Yeah.
It might have done something, but it wasn't enough. Yeah.
Fair enough, yeah.
So the shadow crystal you left in this would be missing. This would be turned off. So you would assume they probably took it.
Okay.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Because it is powered down right now. You don't see any lights coming from it. So anyway, sorry.
That's
continue
all I
your
have noted.
conversation.
I think we took everything else. I think we took all the gold, all the little treasures and stuff. We couldn't move the pillars, so we left them, and then teleportation doorway. Obviously, we couldn't move. So that's all I have noted.
Well,
All right.
I was kind of telling the truth then. There's stuff in there, but can you move it? Kind of.
Yeah, you're not sure what they could do, if they could move it or not.
Well, my expectation is that the teleportation doorway might be what they're looking for anyway.
I'm sure it is, but at this point, yeah. So more or less. Okay, hold on. Let's get back into. All right. So I'll say, based on Barrel's recollection of what's in there, I would posit that this is more or less a negotiation of our friends' lives for their having access to this city that they seek, because the only things in there are mobile hollow points and the very circle that Malik himself sought.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that to them?
No, I'm
No,
saying
Oh, you're saying it
remember,
to the-
remember they
us.
stepped away. We asked for
Yeah.
privacy. Yeah.
we're having some quiet.
Gotcha. All right.
I do not wish to pay in advance for a service we cannot trust will ever be delivered, or delivered as, dagger to throat.
Beryl wants to find Shock and friends, but Beryl doesn't think Shock and friends would would want their lives traded for possibly lives of many if Malik gains access to. Beryl doesn't understand this first city thing, but sounds important.
I agree. I want our friends back, Shock especially, as much as anyone, but you bring up a good point. I think if any of them knew that we had traded their lives for Malik or his Shadowlord having access to the ring, they wouldn't have wished that we had done it.
So, Nimble would whisper, in this situation, though, I think your group holds the cards, as the expression may go. If they thought they could defeat you, they most likely would have attacked. Perhaps you can counteroffer with trading your friends for the lives of these Shadowlord soldiers and this Arden himself. We could take them as prisoners, perhaps, and demand that they give us back our prisoners. Seems like a fair trade.
Tribe must fight first to make prisoners, yes?
Well, not necessarily, Arden says. They are trapped here. They have no way of getting out. Of course, if they resist, you would have to fight, but...
You're a smart man, Nimble.
He says, I have read much about the art of negotiation in my time under the vaults. I think it is why I was chosen to come with you.
Many good books.
Perhaps it is. Sim, is this an angle that you would care to explore? I think you are perhaps the most well suited to a conversation like this. If, of course, it agrees with you.
Perhaps, but not knowing what they are or what they can do, I have never encountered Shadowlord. Can we even hold them captive?
Yeah, how are you gonna catch somebody who misty steps at the snap of a finger?
Knock him unconscious, I guess.
So, actually, you can probably use Arcana to try to know more about Shadowlord.
Sure.
I think I'm not sure when the last check was made, but you have had access to research and leveled up since then.
Well, you on the die.
Oh, look at that! Is that an inspiration, Steve? I see an advantage there. Is that intentional?
I think it's just a default rolling thing.
Yeah, I think you may have just had it turned
No,
on.
he's using that mobile app. I'm not sure why it rolled it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it'd be black and black.
It's
if
very
it was
pretty, but
by default. If it's grayed out, that normally means you chose to do it that way.
So, Anakate, you're trained, right?
Yep.
So you and Gamork might actually know a little bit. Let's see. Shadowlord. So you know that if there's darkness, they can teleport. If there's not darkness, they can't do their shadow jump. So it only works in a unlit area.
So
I don't know if you want to mention that.
As long as
Much like your sword. Yeah.
Right. If we keep it bright in here, they can't teleport.
So.
And you also know that their shadow jump is only 30 feet, so it's not like a huge distance.
Right, and I assume if it's like mine, you have to be able to see the spot where you're going. So if they're locked in a room, they can't.
Exactly, yeah. They need line of sight.
I will share that as well.
Okay. Is this our angle then? That we want to coerce them into freeing our friends in exchange for their freedom?
In exchange for their lives.
That works for me. I will expend 2 torches, and I will put one directly south of the north, what remains of the northeast statue, and then directly north of what remains of the southeast statue. Even though that one may be giving off light already, I'm not sure how much it is.
So go ahead and drag them on to the positions you want the torches.
I forget that I can do that.
Yeah. They would all kind of start looking curiously at you.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
These were like pillars, right? These.
Yes, one of them is destroyed. The others are still intact. Because remember, you were destroying them to weaken Malik
Mhm.
when you fought him. So Arden would kind of look curiously over at you and say, what is this about? As he sees you like lighting torches and throwing them down. Barrels
seems you are,
measuring things.
Perhaps
We felt
calculating.
we felt we should shed a little more light on the subject.
But
But
seems
Sim,
in,
were you saying something?
yes, it seems in circumstance where perhaps you and your Shadarkai are less willing to fight than the members of our tribe. Well, it may be best to ensure you cannot simply flee as we try to come to an understanding.
he narrows his eyes a bit.
I look at the group and change my thumbs up to a thumbs down.
Oh no. Yeah, I was gonna say if we're back to thumbs in, I'm gonna change my thumbs down to a thumbs up.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
you would, wouldn't you?
We have an angle now.
Everyone's changing sides.
Beryl didn't change sides. She's sticking to it.
He
You
says,
seem honorable enough, preferring to speak than to fight immediately, and perhaps we can make deal with you. But deals such as you mentioned, where we offer you contents of vault and simply trust that you will return sometime in future to perhaps aid us in our goal. And furthermore,
he says, well, I would be willing to bring the prisoners here before the trade. I wouldn't expect you to just give me the things first and expect me to come back. That would be foolish of you.
hmm.
I'm gonna look over to whoever hasn't given me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So Anna Kate.
I think it.
I think
Go ahead.
I'm trying to decide. Like I
I
think I like the negotiation idea. So I will say this is your chance to surrender. Your people are holding our friends captive. So we are offering you a trade. We will spare your lives if you have your people release our friends.
It is.
Give me a persuasion check.
Remember at the break how I said that I don't have good charisma?
I was gonna say,
I
I was gonna say, since Sim was talking, he can make one too.
Okay, I was like,
there's mine.
oh my god, I was trying so hard to leverage Sim for this conversation.
All right, hang on. Whatever. I'll spend inspiration on this. This seems worth it.
Oh
Okay.
man, I believe in
You
you.
make an inspired persuasion check.
Even if I had any inspiration, it would not have helped.
21.
Oh, sweet, that's good. That's a tier break
That's
right there.
really good.
So he sort of sighs, looking around and kind of realizing why you were putting the torches down. He says, I suppose we could trade you 7 for 7 if you want to go that route. A fair trade. There are 7 here, and we could bring 7 of your prisoners. Or our prisoners.
What happens to the rest?
Says the rest will remain imprisoned within our fortress.
How many of our friends do they have?
Or let's see, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22,
Ooh.
23, 24 plus. I have down that Aurelia had a couple of people with her, but I don't know how many.
So 24 plus any of the other shadow cards Cerelia had with her.
I think our people are worth 2 or 3 of every one of theirs.
He... Is that what you say?
I say that to our group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we're like
I mean,
standing there with
you're
them.
not wrong though. Fuck.
Well,
as-
okay, us, our group maybe, but these are NPCs. So just so you know, some of the people we're trying to save
Well,
are
yeah.
not super powerful.
Well, I'm trying to. There's a way to get into the headspace of that. I don't want to push my luck. I don't. This is. Yeah, fuck.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says that Abigail's MIA, but there were 2 members of Shadow Steel with us, so that's one more that I didn't count. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you had the soldiers with you. You had like Rotfro, Shock, and a couple
not
others.
Rotro.
Oh,
No.
that's right. Rotfro just left. Orcard, Shock.
Yeah, 3 mercenaries formerly employed by Blackwater. Orcard and 18 hobgoblins, including Orcard. Shock, 2 members of Shadow Steel, but not Abigail.
Yeah.
And then Cerelia and her crew. So I don't know how many was with her.
Or the steel shadow, you mean? Yeah.
Oh, what did I say?
It's Shadow Steel. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying, Sim?
Oh no, I was just saying. I feel like I remembered Lou telling us in out of character conversation a little while ago. Cerelia was operating solo then and didn't actually have people with her.
I believe that's correct. She had, it had been alluded that at one point she might have had operatives, but it was nobody could really recall. So we had decided that she was operating alone.
Yeah.
And
yep,
she was sent back. She was
then
sent
it would be
back by the
just
Raven
her
Queen to help
than
you.
25 people. Yeah, if it was just her, then 25 people total counting her.
then I would.
So
Sim in this case would just turn and say, "Well, I am loyal to tribes, so their offer is 7 for 7."
and
I think we should do a counter offer of 3 of our people to every one of theirs, and hope that they counter our counter with 2 to every one of theirs.
That's still not all of tribe's people,
Yeah,
though.
that's still not
Better than-
everybody.
Right. It's not. As the
No,
resident expert
hear me out. Hear me out. If we get 7 back, those 7 could at least tell us like where they're being held, what kind of
That's
forces they
true.
have.
That's very
All
true.
right.
I'd like to turn to Nimble for a minute, because this was legitimately his brilliant suggestion. And I'll say, Nimble, in your learned experience, do you think that we are likely to worsen our situation by making a counteroffer? Do you think they will retract their position, or do you think that we can attempt to better our side of the argument?
Says, it is hard to say. I don't know how much they value their troops. From just the standpoint of 1-for-1 value, then I don't know if it would be worth it for them to give up that many prisoners just for these 7. But I guess it depends, like I said, on how much they value these 7, and we don't know that.
They have to
Well,
be
surely-
a good 7.
Surely
think
Arden
that we can
values his
return.
own life pretty highly.
I think that Gamork brings up a good point in that if we assert that each one of them is worth 3 of our own, this could perhaps do a couple of things. Imply that we value their own individual lives more than we value our own, which might lend itself to their ego, and perhaps, if not get us 3 to 1, then 2 to 1, or at the very least, they may just say no, but it's worth a shot.
So unfortunately we are over by a bit, so this might be a good place to stop and continue the negotiations next time. Not the best place to stop, but yeah. We can always continue next time. So why don't we do MVP votes and wrap for the evening?
Alright.
Alright, I got 1.
We're gonna have to remember exactly where we left off. That is a humdinger.
In the negotiations.
Beryl's like while you guys are doing this, she's all like hunched over, like she's kind of like going through little gestures and little like muttering to herself, like she's trying to practice something that she hasn't really done before, but that she is
Oh,
kind of
wow.
like preparing to do.
Three-way tie. Meijun, Gamork, and Sim. I need D20 rolls.
All right. Can I spend inspiration on this? No, I'm just kidding.
No. I mean, I guess you could if you really wanted to.
Oh, fuck me!
All right, so Meijun's out. Sim and Gamork. D20 rolls.
Don't expect to win these.
Oh, wait. All right.
Ow.
So Gamork.
It is.
14. So Gamork is MVP. Congrats.
Nice.
Bed jumping always wins the day.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Did you say
everybody.
bed jumping?
Yeah.
Jumping in the bed, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, hopefully everyone had fun. I know there's been a lot of talking, but hopefully you guys are still enjoying it.
Man, this
Yeah.
was
I had a good time tonight.
yeah, great for me. The stakes are high, man.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily action-packed, but there's a lot going on. Beryl doesn't understand it all, but she's into it.
Yeah.
The suspense is terrible, and I
Isn't
hope it
it?
lasts.
Fuck, man. for being such a combat
I got the
minded
quote.
individual, I dig this. I dig this high RP.
Well, good. I'm glad everyone is enjoying it. I'm going to take some notes, but yeah, I think that is it. So if you guys want to get going, have a good night. I'll see you next
All
time.
right. I don't think I can join tomorrow night, Lou.
What?
I will probably miss tomorrow night because our plane lands like just before game starts. So.
All right. I'll hopefully. Wait, are you? Well, that's right. Yeah, you're in the Tuesday evening. Okay. Yeah. All right. No, that's fine. We'll just have you join back up.
Well, I mean, that
next
was one
Tuesday.
of the ones I originally said I was going to miss.
Yep.
But our flight was actually rescheduled. Like we were originally going to get home at like 10 p.m. Eastern time, and now we're going to get home at 7 something Eastern. But it's still pretty tight. I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I might still join, but yeah.
I forget where we left off. I remember Hollow Hand just wait, hold on, who's in here? Yeah, that's fine. Hollow Hand just yeeted out of there, and then we went down the hallway. I think we might be in there's a little tiny room where we found another fragment of tinder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be exactly where we stopped. I don't remember.
Tinder's like the best NPC ever. I'm actually really kind of having fun just watching, like hearing your guys' like conversation. Well, no, that and actually the axe is fantastic.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
Dumbaxe is funny. I dig him. He's the only one who
Our
really
barbarian in the Tuesday group
Donnie
found
in
an
his voice.
axe that's sentient, and the axe and the barbarian have arguments, and the axe does it in the barbarian's head, but the barbarian does his side out loud, so the rest of the group hears him arguing with dumb axe with it, which is what he's dubbed it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
He's basically a schizophrenic barbarian. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with Tinder. I hope he doesn't turn out to be the BBG. We'll find out.
BBEG.
Who knows? You never know. Maybe I'll be his sidekick.
You'll be his new minion. He will dominate you and bend you to his will.
Then
Well, maybe.
Zalia will be even more angry at you.
She's gonna be
Yeah,
so
then
bad.
we're all gonna our new quest. We're gonna be following along trying to free you.
Man, there was a hot second where she was pissed at everybody. It was pretty much right after we actually got into the temple. Because I remember, right before, when we were coming around the corner in the caves, right before the temple, she was distinctly very upset at Ivor, Theo, Donnie, and Baldani. I think
I
Betha
don't
was
think
the only person she was pissed at.
No, I think that's it. Because Faith is just sour and grumpy all the time, so I don't think there's any real
That's just the same
yeah,
shit, different day.
Yeah, there's no ebb and flow in like who she gets along with. Although actually, she and Donnie have actually become more like there's more solidarity with her and Donnie in the last, I don't know, 5 or 8 sessions than there were before that. Like they were never at odds, but they were never like team up. And we've just recently we're kind of on each other's side now.
Yeah, Donnie is an extremely effective, stubborn barbarian. He's so effective that he is actually irritating, and I have to remind myself that it's just Donnie. I'm like, fuck, stop.
But then
Wait,
he has a
that's-
conversation with Dumax, and it just makes up for it all.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go. Have a lovely night, guys.
See you next week.
Yeah,
Thank you,
see you
Lou.
next
Night,
time.
Good to see
everyone.
you, Steve. It was good to play with you, man.
Thank you.
There was some
Right back
really,
at
man.
you.
What was the moment? There was, man. You did say a thing, and I was like, holy shit, that was really fucking creative. I can't remember what it was though.
I don't know. I just spout random
I
shit.
think it was no,
You had a
made
really
some-
good point.
he had a good like diplomacy suggestion or something. I can't remember either.
Yeah,
But
it was
there
during
something- yeah.
it was during these negotiations. You said something, and I was like, holy shit, that's profound.
Lou,
Well, like
we
that,
should
we
play-
get to name the people that we get out versus they just pick 7 hobgoblins. We get to tell them if we only end up with 7 people that they bring back, we get to name the 7 people they bring back.
Okay, on
Well,
one
for sure.
hand, I know Shock is our goal, but to be fair, we've been allied with Shock and Orcart from like episode. Well, okay, with Shock from like session 1 or 2, and with Orcart from session like I don't know the first 5 to 10.
Well, I think everybody in there is going to be equally grateful and equally guilty that they got out. Nobody is going to like absolutely love it. Everybody's going to feel like shit that there are
Yeah.
people who are still in there. So, but
I
anyway,
don't like
that's-
the idea of us having to choose though.
I think that's a fantastic conversation to have in game. No, I don't remember what it was. It was because that was something I was also thinking about, but I don't think we actually said that yet. There was something else, and I was like, man, that's a really fucking good.
Steel
recommendation.
Shadow are not going to make the cut because we don't even know their names. Lou didn't give us names for the Steel Shadow soldiers. I asked him for names, and he said, "Oh, they're just grunts."
Wah,
Just grunts.
wah. Sorry, Steel Shadow.
Sucks to suck.
Right.